Something has stopped us now. I'll tell you how. We're gonna live on through it. Let's stay inside and spend our time taking things in stride. Good times aren't held at bay. Just stay away from the population and wash your hands to kill off those bacterial strands. Now we're trying to keep a little distance. It's for sure our best resistance to making things a whole lot worse. Come on, kids, let's all go down to the sink. Wash those grubby little hands of yours. 20 seconds. You never know, it might just save a life. Something has stopped us now, but don't you fret, it'll for sure get better. We'll soon be hand in hand, going down to Disneyland. Oh, won't that be so grand, though something has stopped us now. Ah-cha-cha.
Good morning. Welcome to Locked In with Eric Morton, the show that is more reliable than the Shop Disney website. Happy Saturday to everybody. It's a gloomy day here in Florida and probably elsewhere, but we're trying to make the best of it. I have my coffee and I have my group of friends. Today we are joined by, who was I too quick on the draw there? We're joined by Jill Diffendahl and Miss Allison and Cosmic Chris Reed. Pete Carney will be joining us at the after the first hour or so. Thanks for joining us, guys. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Doing all right.
Good.
Okay, great to hear. As usual, I want to start and we do have the Butters Cam isn't quite ready, but we do have the Butters Cam for you guys because I know you're going to ask about it. That will be we'll be showing that a little later. Today we are going to hit a few topics. First, we're going to do some recap of the week. We're going to talk about favorite resorts. We are going to do something called plussing the parks, where we are adding things to the resort that aren't necessarily attractions that can improve the guest experience. And in the end, we're going to create our own Disney resort. How's that sound? You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, great. I want to just quickly recap the last week that we've had on WDWNT Live, as well as our flagship show, WDW News Tonight, and also Park Center, because those are regular shows. A lot of these are kind of shows that we have created to provide entertainment for you guys during this time while everybody's locked in. I want to start first. We had Ride Rehab watches again. I believe it was the 30th. The time is running together. I've watched all of these, but I believe this one was the Disneyland 35th anniversary. Eventually, we're going to run out of corny stuff. This was kind of corny, but I don't think it was on the corny level of the ones that we've had previously. So I don't know if we're going to run out of those eventually or not. Did you guys see this?
I did not get a chance to see this one.
No. It's pretty entertaining. Those are very popular, the Ride Rehab watch-alongs. Tyler Thomas and Matt, I think Ben as well. Then we had Park Center. Park Center is a weekly show. It's on Wednesdays at 9. Did I get that right, Jill?
You got that day night at 9 o'clock.
Okay, good. And that our own Pete Carney is also a regular on Park Center. Mm-hmm. Park Center is great. Mm-hmm. They try to recap the week's Disney news in 7 stories. In about 30 minutes or less. Did we hit 30 minutes this week? Did we go over?
So we've been using the 30 minutes as a pretty loose rule these days. Park Center, we tend to struggle to keep within the 30-minute time frame anyway. So we've just been saying, let's generate some more content and talk a little bit longer. And that's been what's happening. So maybe more like 45 minutes.
I don't think it drags on too long, though. Usually when Park Center's over, I could have done with another topic or something like that. It's usually pretty good.
Oh, you're sweet.
You guys do a good job of staying. Now, we have been, I will say, since this is the first time Jill's been on our program, we'll focus on Jill a little bit. As a Park Center regular, there was some pretty critical fire thrown at us on the WDW News Tonight staff for the March Madness event. And Jill was probably one of the key, I don't want to say instigators of that, but she was one of the key instigators of this. I'm not even saying it was unfair. I'm saying that there was some criticism lobbed our way, and we should all take that to heart next time that we have an opportunity to do something like this. It's a great responsibility when your vote counts more than everybody else's. So there were maybe some wrongs that were done along the way during March Madness that couldn't be righted after the fact. And I know some people were happy with the result. Some people were not. I believe, Jill, though, your primary criticism was that perhaps Tom Corliss bulldozed over people to get them onto his side with the secret Swiss bobsled training facility. Is that fair?
I mean, at one point, Nick said, I guess I'm just going to trust Tom and vote for the Matterhorn. Like, I mean, if you go watch the replay, it's all right there. Like Josh said at the end, like, I have to vote for the Matterhorn because otherwise Tom won't give me a ride home. Like, I'm not saying that's what actually would have happened, but the fact that that's sort of like the mentality that you can get from everyone else on the panel. But yes, it is a big responsibility to be on that panel. And when you have people that are just kind of making arbitrary decisions, when you have people that are just like, whatever, I don't really care, so I'm going to vote for this. Like, there's a lot of responsibility there. I feel like it should be incumbent on everyone on the panel to go back and watch Park Center from last year's March Madness, because we call out the same things every year where it's just like, did you, like, one of the things that frustrated me this year was people kept saying, well, like, there's 2 Mel Brooks attractions in the competition. I'm going to vote for the other one later, so I'm not going to vote for this one. Like, that's not how March Madness works. March Madness is always about the validity of the 2 competitors and which one is better. Like, you don't get to say, well, I'm looking down the line, because, like, that's not what basketball teams get to say in March Madness. So why do you get to say that when, like, that shouldn't be how you vote for these things. You should be.
We were not given strong criteria for our vote. So, for instance, one of the common criticisms is, why do you care that this thing will have been reskinned 20 years down the road? Well, to me, that matters, right? That means the quality of the attraction didn't have staying power. And I think if you're going to spend millions of dollars to put something in the park, it might as well be something that has some staying power. There's a lot of different ifs and whats, and one of them was, I didn't really know in the first round that the Matterhorn meant that we would have to have a Swiss pavilion. I thought this was for attractions. And then
no one did.
On their own.
That was the biggest retcon of the entire tournament. Later, Tom's like, well, if you look at the concept art, it's a whole pavilion. Well, you didn't put a pavilion. Every other pavilion in Epcot you called the Spain Pavilion, the Arab Nations Pavilion, the Israel Pavilion. And that encompassed everything in that pavilion, including any ride that was potentially going to be there, any kind of like landscaping and theming they did, shops, restaurants. It incorporated all of that. But on the bracket, you just said Matterhorn. So don't try to retcon it later, because it's in print.
Yeah. By the way, Lee has a book, an old school Epcot Center photo book. And like among the last pages there, Lee, if you can get that for me in a minute, it actually says like coming soon, was it Spain, Israel, and Equatorial Africa? Those are all in there in the book. Like, here you go. It also says Horizons is coming soon, which is kind of funny. Wait till next year when we have Horizons, which, you know, as we all know.
Yeah, there's like 4 of them. Was Argentina one of them too, or no?
It wasn't in this book. Here's the book. This is the old Epcot Center pictorial souvenir. And if I go somewhere near the back page here. It's on the very back. There you go. Coming to the World Showcase.
Spain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sorry, I have a bright light there. Spain, Equatorial Africa, and what was this? Israel. So those were closer to reality than I thought.
I believe that, you know, back in the early 80s, there actually used to be like almost like a billboard in World Showcase for, I think it was Equatorial Africa, where you would walk past and there was a big sign that said "Coming soon, Equatorial Africa." Like some of these things are super close.
I didn't like the idea of Equatorial Africa because it was just such a large collection of countries. Like, I'm not sure what countries comprise Equatorial Africa. So maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems like
you mean like first world nation bias?
Not necessarily first world nation. Yeah, not necessarily first world nation bias, but.
They're playing on the fact that like the average American doesn't know the first thing about what countries are in Africa.
That's true, and I would like to. I understand you might want to grab a collection, but so they could have made Norway Scandinavia, I suppose, because a lot of people confuse Norway with Sweden or whatever. But I like the idea that each individual country has its own culture that's worthy of sharing, and so to lump all of Equatorial Africa together seemed a little bit. I understand why they did it, but it seemed a little. It didn't seem worthy of my vote. So I went against that one. I've spent a lot of time in Africa, not for fun, for work. But you don't want to go to Liberia, trust me. But I think Equatorial Africa was an easy out. I think the Spain pavilion probably would have had staying power. My position was the Israel pavilion might attract. There are a large segment of our world that believes that Israel does not have a right to exist. And whether, I don't want to get into a debate about Israel, what I want to say is it would attract at some point some level of controversy. I didn't think Epcot would. I don't think Disney would want that. I don't want to stay on March Madness too long. I know that was a few weeks ago, but I am curious to know from all of you if there was an attraction that you believe should have won all along. Let's start with Allison.
I really thought that the Great Muppet Movie Ride was going to. I thought that was gonna have a real solid chance of winning, and I also thought that the Western River. I thought Western River was going to win. I thought that Great Muppet Movies had a good chance of winning, and I was rooting for it. I mean, I know that some people would argue that. We already have the Great Movie Ride. It would just kind of be like the Great Movie Ride, their Lion King 1.5 version of the Great Movie Ride, but with the Muppets. But I would have really enjoyed it. I thought that there could have been a lot of really great creativity, and you're constantly seeing people say, bring back the Muppets. We want more Muppets. And I think that it could have been a really, really great attraction.
How about you, Chris?
Well, here's the thing. During March Madness was the craziest time with work, so I didn't have time to kind of look at a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to kind of back out of this one, let you guys do it. I'm just being quite honest with you. I'm not just going to make something up. I get it. Yeah.
I get it. No, there were 64 things in there, and some of them I had never heard of, some of them I had heard rumors of. There was actually, you actually had to do quite a bit of research, I think, to do the tournament service. So,
I didn't have the
Jill.
So of course I have strong opinions about this. I absolutely think Western River should have won. I'm kind of stunned that it didn't. I felt like Western River was the most classically, traditionally Disney thing in the entire mix, on a grand scale. So there were plenty of other very Disney things in there, but Western River was the most classically Disney on just this massive scale. And I was really surprised that Tom wasn't more supportive of it. That was one of the things that I think shocked me most about this competition, that Tom would basically rather have a replica of the Matterhorn than something completely original and new.
If we're being frank, the Matterhorn as a roller coaster is pretty ho-hum. Matterhorn, the facade as an icon in the park to look at is cool, and the idea of entering through a shed that when you get in, turns out as a secret Swiss bobsled training facility. That's really cool, but as an attraction itself, it's a pretty roller coaster.
Right, and especially when there was no love given to Mount Fuji, which I think would have accomplished exactly the same thing and at least been a little bit more unique.
I think I voted for Mount Fuji, though. But Mount Fuji had a tough matchup. I don't remember who knocked out Mount Fuji.
I think it might have been Western River at some point.
Yeah, it might have been Western River. My thing with Western River was there were several Mark Davis attractions in the tournament. Everyone loves Mark Davis, but it was the best of the Mark Davis attractions, right? The Ice Palace thing, that was cute, whatever. The $5 animatronic chickens at Fort Wilderness were cute. That was Mark Davis, but this would have been an epic Mark Davis attraction. Anyway, I digress.
Yes, but
sorry.
I still have the tournament bracket, and Western River did indeed knock out Mount Fuji. But Mount Fuji almost got knocked out by Atlantis, which is a reskinning of the submarines in Disneyland. And again, why are you? It frustrated me so much. This, like you had talked about, the idea of if an attraction has staying power, like would it still be there today versus like would it have gotten reskinned or rethemed or whatever? And it was weird because sometimes that was of a factor that influenced a vote one way, and sometimes it was like, oh well, I don't care about that. And it was just like, don't use it as your criteria if you're not going to stick to it, most of the time.
I get it. I do.
But, for like Mel Brooks.
I like submarine rides though, so I'm a sucker.
No Mel Brooks attraction would still be in existence today. And sometimes it was like, well, I'm not voting for Mel Brooks because it would have gotten changed by now. And then other times it was like, I don't care if it would have gotten changed. It would have been awesome while it lasted. And it was like the same people were making that same assertion at different points in the tournament.
So we just recapped Park Center from like 3 weeks ago. So you're welcome, guys. My fault.
A little walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
We're prepping them because
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're prepping them because I'm pretty sure some of that stuff is going to get brought back up in the roast on Tuesday night. So.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have the Butters cam? Is the Butters cam functional now? How's Butters doing? She's inside. She's on the kitchen counter today. There she is. She's feeling bashful, I guess. Butters, she's. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back to her when she's feeling different. She's still shy. She'll warm up. Don't worry, guys. Okay, so we had Party with Pete this week on Thursday, and usually, like, I could never commit to appearing on Party with Pete because of work, but every now and then I can sneak away during like my lunch break and be on for like 45 minutes or an hour. Party with Pete, as always, is a good time. His guest fell through. Kat Cressida was going to be on there. She is the voice, and I believe the face of the bride on the Haunted Mansion these days. And she's done like voices of Jessie in the parks and a lot of stuff like that. So I know Pete was really excited. And shortly before the interview, maybe that the night before or that morning.
No, it was like that morning. Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically got like a notification from, quote, her people that she was going to be unable to appear. I don't know what that meant. I don't know if she agreed to be on it and then she did some research and found out that it wasn't as big an audience that, I don't know if she thought it was Disney that was doing the interview or what. But, some people might be confused when you say, well, Disney World News Today. I don't know, maybe she really was busy. I don't know, but that would have been nice. But Party with Pete ended up being a good time anyway. He showed an excerpt. He did an interview with Jeff Lowe from Tiger King, which is kind of interesting. And then we kind of discussed the topic, which is kind of controversial, of roadside zoos and all that stuff. But it was a good time. And Party with Pete is always fun. And now Pete has his own graphic and music. So that's cool. I like it. It's like a perfect example of Pete. They captured him very well. Good work. I assume that was Tyler that did that.
I love that graphic. That music is so perfect.
Yeah, and we have music. We have a version of the Locked In with Eric Morton logo that has music as well. But we didn't play that this morning, but maybe we'll play it when we come back from the commercial a little bit later. We had the Wolf Den. Eric Wolf was on. I did not catch Eric's show this week, so I don't really know what happened. But I know that Eric is passionate about like Pixar things, so I assume those were discussed. I don't know. But I do have a note to go back and watch it because Eric's always Eric cracks me up, and he's always very entertaining.
I know he did a fan casting of Robin Hood, I believe, live action Robin Hood fan casting. Yeah,
they fan casted Robin Hood, and I probably ruffled some feathers a couple weeks ago on the week's post show after News Tonight, saying that I thought Robin Hood was a pretty crappy movie. but anyway, I don't know that it's worthy of having this live remake, but who knows? Sometimes they remake the really popular good movies and they turn out to not be good, and maybe they'll do one that's middle of the pack or below and it will be great. Who really knows? They did also, Tom hosted a show where they basically ranked Pixar movies, right? Yeah, they ranked Pixar movies. Was this week Pixar? Yeah, this week was Pixar. So it was cool because Spencer actually had an app you could go to, a website, and if you have trouble ranking these movies, you could actually put each one head to head, and the criteria is like you have Cars against The Incredibles, and if you're stuck on a desert island, you could only have one of them. Which one would it be? And you pick that, and so then it goes, okay, it goes through all those, and eventually it comes out with a list of your top movies to your bottom ones. And I thought that was really cool, and people had people are very passionate about their Pixar movies. The people that were watching anyway were very passionate about which ones they think are the best. There was shock when Tom was like, number 6 on my list, I have, or number 5 or whatever, I have Coco. And like 3 of the people were like, that's my number 1. You know, and I was like, ooh, you know. So, but Tom was always ready to back up his assertions. So it was interesting.
Sure.
We did the Onward watch along last weekend, I guess. I don't know, time blends together right now. And at the end of the watch along, we were talking a little bit about Pixar movies because that was coming up. And there was quite a debate over The Incredibles specifically. We kind of, there was definitely 2 camps in our group of watch along folks on how they felt about The Incredibles. And it was very interesting because some people are incredibly passionate about it and other people are like, meh, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I love The Incredibles, but they're probably, you know, middle of the pack Pixar movie for me. But what I screwed up when I was ranking them was my lowest ranked Pixar movie was Cars 3. And I think because I just, after Cars 2, I might have only just glossed over Cars 3. But yeah, Cars 2 upon further review is definitely worse than Cars 3.
Yeah.
I think that
Cars 3 was fine. It was nice.
Yeah. I may not have even seen Cars 3 after Cars 2. Now maybe I have to go back and circle around to do it. All I need is time and a streaming device, which I have plenty of. So I'll have to do that. But that was interesting to watch along. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but it's interesting because people are very passionate about their Pixar movies. Oh, a lot of them actually really had WALL-E as like number 1 or number 2. And WALL-E, again, is one of those, it's like way down at the bottom for me. I'd like the first half hour, and then the rest is just like, oh, you're all fat and lazy and stupid. We get it, Pixar. Usually you're a little more subtle in your message.
Getting too close to home.
Yeah. They had, what I didn't see, we started doing something called It's a Smalls World, which basically is a show dedicated to people who are experiencing Disney with children. A lot of our content is geared towards your regular adults going to Disney, having a good time with each other. Smalls World focuses more on people that are experiencing the parks and resorts with children. So if you have kids, it's probably a great watch. I did not get a chance to watch it, but it seems like a really great idea, and I'm sure it was well done. We also had Cosmic Chris Reed. What, you're on Fridays you're on Mondays at 9?
Mondays. Yeah, Mondays
at 9. Mondays at 9,
yeah.
Cosmic Chris Reed. That's in addition to the dance party you had, too. So you had a dance party last week, and you had your regular Cosmic Reed segment. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, we did both. And this week we went back to Toons as well and started playing music at the same time as doing the YouTube chat. So a little bit of both, people listening to them at the same time and making requests in the YouTube chat. It was a great time. It was awesome.
Yeah, very popular. I know people love it. I know people in this household love it. So that's awesome. Great. Pressing Issues is a newer show that's kind of based on an older show. It's a more long format, deep dive into Disney issues. I didn't catch Pressing Issues this week because I think it's Sunday night, and that's when I'm like filled with dread that I have to go to work on Monday and figure out how I'm going to attack the week. And I think I missed it, but I watched the episode the week before, and Jason kind of moderates this, and they attack a large issue. Joe, what was discussed on Pressing Issues this week? Did you see it? Were you on it?
I actually didn't. I missed this week's episode, but I want to plug tomorrow night's episode because I'm going to be on. Also, I'm going to just tell everyone this that like at all times possible, tomorrow is Jason's birthday. So I'm going to have to embarrass him a little bit on the show tomorrow night. But tomorrow night, one of the topics we're talking about is something I actually brought up, I think, on the Park Center post show a couple weeks ago. But the idea of opening lands without all of the attractions open. You know, knowing that that's how Galaxy's Edge went, that they didn't open the e-ticket until several months later, knowing that, well, we don't know now when Avengers Campus will open in Disneyland, but the big e-ticket there isn't supposed to open for a couple years later, versus looking at Pandora, where both of the attractions opened with the land and and how the reactions compared and how guest experience compares. So I know that's going to be one of the topics we're talking about tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So that'll be worth watching. My people are telling me the Butters cam might have a better angle at this time. Kevin, are you available to cut to Butters and see what's going on?
Oh,
there we go. She's very tired. She had a long walk today. She barked at a lot of people last night. We decided to play Jackbox games with my family online out on the patio, so there's plenty of stuff for her to bark at, wore her out, I think.
Oh.
Poor Butters. Anyway, we'll cut back to her a little later. Thank you, Butters.
I just want to clarify, because it's being asked in the chat. Jason is my brother. We are not married. We are not, I repeat, not married. Jason is my brother.
He's always been her brother.
Yes.
Since the day I was born.
Since the day she was born. We had a couple episodes of Cooking with Nick since our last show. So I didn't watch the episode, I believe it was last night. I watched the one earlier in the week when he did fish dip from the old, was it called the Gulf Coast Room? Which was like a restaurant on the second level of the Contemporary back in the early days. That was kind of, I think they took some like meeting space and converted it into a restaurant, and then it became very popular. Made some fish dip from there, and he made some other dishes. But Nick is, and I think he had his mom on there helping him for sure. It looked very good. I like following those along, and the best part is watching the YouTube chat of like all the amateur emeralds on there, like, no, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. It's really funny watching people critique, a cooking show that someone's doing from their own kitchen on the spur of the moment. So when with limited availability at the grocery store, I'm sure it was a good time for Nick to throw this together. These are very popular though.
Nick is a very good cook. So I just want to defend for anyone who has never actually eaten Nick's cooking. Nick is a very good cook. The very first time I ever met Nick actually was at the 10th anniversary WDWNT event, and we had a party at the Treehouse Villas at Saratoga Springs, and Nick made cheeseburger flatbread for everybody, and it was awesome. So, Nick,
that's great. Yeah, I know people really like it. No matter how much, you can go.
No matter how much critique he might be getting in the YouTube chat, what comes out on the other end is very tasty.
Yeah. It wasn't overly critical. It's just kind of funny that everybody has very strong opinions. A lot of people have very strong opinions when it comes to cooking. So it's just funny to watch that, because obviously whatever Nick made looks delicious. He has a great reputation. Nick, I don't know about his bartending, because I tasted some of that stuff they made on the first Liquid Magic in the studio. I had to say, maybe that was the recipes, maybe it was the bartenders, but that stuff was disgusting. It tasted like wind. Was even Pete's stuff not good? Well, they made it together. It was just, first of all, keep in mind, I'm going back into the living room after they have just made a mess everywhere and slopped all this booze everywhere and all this stuff. And I tried one of them. Pete says, try this. I said, no offense, but that's disgusting. He said, no, that's the one that we hate. But that's the recipe they use at the Wave. And I was like, well, why are we teaching people to make a drink that everyone thinks is disgusting?
There are so many other drinks you can make that are good.
Yeah, so that was interesting. But Cooking with Nick is great. And then last night we had, whose cue is it anyway? Allison, you appeared in your sailor outfit. I saw you.
Yes.
That looked very entertaining. You guys were doing a great job. I ended up going to bed about an hour and a half into it, but it was very entertaining, very well done, especially considering the challenges of trying to do these alone in a room in front of a webcam or whatever, and not having your fellow actors to interact with at your side. I thought it was very well done. So if you haven't seen any of those, please go check them out, people. They're really great. I have not checked the YouTube yet. Oh, go ahead, Jill. I'm sorry.
Oh, I've got it open. I was just going to say there's another Who's Q. I'm just going to plug what I'm doing for the rest of the show. There's another Who's Q coming up on the 25th, and I will be on that episode.
I missed the craft corner with Colleen. So we had a craft corner as well, and there's one coming up. Or did we already have that? No. Yeah, Monday at 11, sock puppets.
Has that? I don't think that's happened yet, has it?
Yeah,
no.
That's coming up Monday at 11. I know that they've done mouse ears and they have done scrapbook pages. So now we're doing sock puppets. And if you've watched Walt Disney World News tonight, you've seen some of her work with these tremendous sock puppets, especially the Bob Chapek puppet, which makes.
I was going to say, you can make your very own Bob Chapek sock puppet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then tomorrow at 11, we have We Love the Prequels with Nick and Jessica. Gonna skip that one. Love you, Nick and Jessica, but I don't know how much of the Star Wars prequels I can tolerate. They're pretty terrible. Pressing Issues will be at 8 with Jason, hosted by Jason Diffendahl. 11 a.m. on Monday, like I said, Colleen's Craft Corner with the Sock Puppets. We'll have Cosmic Read live Monday night, 9 p.m. Tuesday, Club Cool with Drake Bell. We have an interview with Drake Bell. That's going to be Tyler and who else is doing that? Someone else.
Is it Alicia?
Alicia, yeah, Tyler and Alicia interviewing Drake Bell. Believe it or not, we're getting A-list celebrities now. It's not just me and Butters. It's going to be real celebrities. And then 10 p.m. Tuesday night, the roast of Tom Corliss. So there are a lot of participants in this. This could get ugly. This is going to be crazy. This could be ugly. It will be hilarious, but it has the potential to really get ugly, especially because Tom said he has prepared response material for all of the people that will be roasting him, and he has an A option and a B option depending on how cruel they are to him in their roast. So it could be interesting. We could see some people losing their jobs Tuesday night. I don't know. But that should be really entertaining. That's Can't Miss Entertainment. And anybody who is a Disney fan is known, Tom is known throughout the community. I'm sure people want to tune in and see this. This will probably get a large number of viewers.
I want to throw out too that for people who have been WDWNT fans for a long time and remember back in the days of the Christmas podcast parade and things like that, we've got some former WDWNT staff showing up to participate in this roast. So if you want a little bit of a blast from the past and some names you maybe haven't heard in a couple years, we've got some people coming out of the woodwork Tuesday night to be roasting Tom. So I think people who are long-term fans are going to think that's a really cool thing.
I have been scratching my face, and as we know, the rule in this show, you scratch your face, you take a drink. So here we go. And last week, that became if you touch your face, you have to give Butters a treat, which could get expensive. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the roast. I think that's going to be a good time. I think anything could happen. This could be really wild, especially because not everyone has to be there in the studio. So people will be able to taunt Tom from a distance, so to speak. And I have high expectations for a few people. It should be really interesting. I haven't been on staff for very long, as you know, so I don't know how deep I can cut. I want to see if I'm missing anything.
I am terrified.
Yeah, are you?
I am terrified, and I feel like there are several of us who will probably be fired by the next day.
Do you have A material and B material, or do you just have material?
Yeah, I just have material at this point and probably insufficient. But just so y'all out there know, Tom personally selected. This wasn't like staff volunteered and said they wanted to do it. Tom specifically chose, we were chosen. It was absolutely the claw in Toy Story where it was like, only you didn't want the claw to choose you. So I was told I was tapped and I got really, really scared.
I think some people wanted a crack at it. I was not one of those people. I was like, I'm new around here. I don't really know Tom that well. I don't know how seriously he would take some of the jabs. So I'm just kind of going to stay away. And then on a post show, I think for News Tonight last week, he goes, Eric Morton, you're going to be on the panel, right? And I was like, I don't think so. And he goes, I wrote your name on the whiteboard. Colleen didn't tell you that you're going to be roasting me? And I was like, no. So apparently I have some work to do. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I can always escalate to the HR director, who happens to be Jill Diffendahl if I need to, right?
Right. I feel like there might be some conflict of interest that I'm the HR person for our staff, and yet I am also being called to roast a dozen staff members. So I'm not really sure. I feel like that's probably a conflict of interest, but but at the same time, a chance to poke at Tom is, how can you resist?
I have told the viewers the last couple of weeks that if you have ideas for the show, feel free to email them to me at ericm@wdwnt.com. And of course, I'd be happy to respond. I did get a request this week. from Jeffrey Newbeck. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Jeffrey. And he wanted us to talk about our favorite resorts. I think that's a great topic. It's probably been brushed on through the 9,000 shows that have been going on since the parks have been closed that we've been doing. But I think it's a good idea for us as a panel to kind of discuss your favorite resorts, or maybe your favorite resort. We can even go to your favorite resort features. So I don't know if you Frankenstein favorite pieces of resorts that you have. But I will start just to kind of get the conversation going. I have not stayed at every single Disney resort. I have stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. I have stayed at the Contemporary. I've stayed at most of the rest of them. I think I stayed at Polynesian like in the 90s. I've never stayed at the Grand Floridian. I've stayed at the Boardwalk. I stayed at the Boardwalk during Hurricane Irma. And Boardwalk is among my favorite resorts due to proximity and a number of other things. But if I'm taking a vacation, keep in mind I live in Florida. Even now I live in Orlando. I used to live in Tampa. But if I'm taking a vacation, I like the feeling of Old Key West. And they are the original DVC property. And I think that is when they built these before they realized they could make these DVC units a lot smaller and still get as much money as they did for them. So the way that they've set them up, they have this, if you have, assuming you're not just in a studio, you have like a living room and a kitchen, you have like a island that's angled and it has a TV on the back side of it. And it's very spacious. If you get the right unit, get an upstairs unit overlooking the golf course, you sit on the balcony. I sat there and did like a full day of work one time on vacation. Key West, very relaxing, very large and comfortable. And my only negative of Old Key West is the Girling Suitcase is a fine bar, but it's really small. So it'd be cool if they had like a real resort, like big bar there. But other than that, I'm going to nominate Old Key West. How about you, Allison?
I have two. One is I like the Animal Kingdom Lodge. I stayed, gosh, I think it was maybe like 10 years ago or so, maybe like more like 6 or 7. But we stayed at a DVC 2-bedroom suite.
Is that the Kidani? Kidani was DVC, right?
Yeah. Yes, I believe
Jumbo's
so.
the regular one, and Kidani's the DVC.
Yeah. So we stayed there, and it was gorgeous. And we had the savannah view, and we got to see the giraffes, and having like a little guide in the room to identify the animals was very nice. And you can check off which ones you've seen during your stay there. The bathroom was huge. I thought it was beautiful. I like that that the whole building is enclosed and encompassed, so you don't have to go from outside to inside to inside again. I thought that was very convenient, and that's where I stayed during Hurricane Irma. Actually, I stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know if Animal Kingdom Lodge did it, but Boardwalk let me bring dogs. Boardwalk was like, you can bring your dog, up to 2 dogs, and it was cool. We had dog parades during for all the people staying there. I do love Animal Kingdom Lodge, and one thing I'll say is, at least on the DVC side, I think you get 2 bathrooms, because there'll be one in whichever bedroom, and then there's a bathroom off of the like living area and kitchen, which I think is really really great, and the decor there is great. Everybody loves Animal Kingdom Lodge. Have you stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Chris?
I have, and that was going to say, based on ones that I've stayed at, I loved it. It wasn't the DVC option; it was standard room balcony. It had the savannah view. It's just gorgeous. I just love the lobby and how it looks and the theming of the whole resort. Right, Victoria Falls Lounge and Sanaa. It's got all the good eats. It's got the good views. The only thing is, it's just far from Magic Kingdom. I mean, it's close to.
Yeah, it's a little far away, but
that's my only thing.
It is a little far away. It is kind of, it does feel like you're not really at Disney, I guess. But
yeah, I love it.
I've never heard anything really negative about the Animal Kingdom Lodge except the distance. And I didn't have Savannah view. I had like parking lot view or whatever you call it. But it was fine. It was fine.
Mm-hmm. There's animals that way too, so.
Yeah. They're more wild.
Yeah.
And we were talking before the show. I know, Jill, you said you weren't sure you had a favorite resort, but you might have some favorites you can share with us.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm actually, I stay off property a lot, and that's kind of, my mom has a non-Disney timeshare, so it can be incredibly cheap. Like we can spend the same amount for an entire week that you would spend for one night in a Disney room. So we do that a lot. Plus you've got, those are usually huge because they're off property. They have more space to work with. You can get, 2 full bedrooms and a kitchen and 2 bathrooms, and you have tons of space. So that's what we tend to do. And then when I do stay on property, Jason is DVC, and one of my best friends is DVC. So those are usually the people that I'm going with, and we usually wind up at DVC. I would say on property, in terms of recent stays, my favorite has been Boardwalk. I love the rooms. I love the theming. I come from the Northeast, and so vintage Atlantic City Boardwalk totally resonates with me because I grew up going to Atlantic City when I was a kid. My parents would take us for the day or for the weekend. And so all of that really, strikes a nice little nostalgic chord with me. I love the proximity that you can walk to Epcot or studios in 10, 15 minutes. And I love the fact that there's so much stuff right there to take advantage of. If you want to go out to Jelly Rolls, you can go out to Jelly Rolls and then basically stumble home to bed. Flying Fish is right there. I remember we stayed there during Stage 89, and we went, we had a staff dinner at Flying Fish, and then we had, it was the VI pass holder night at Magic Kingdom. So I was like, oh, I'm going to dress nice to go to Flying Fish, and then I can run upstairs, change, and then hop on the bus to go to Magic Kingdom in my park gear. So that convenience is really nice. In terms of the most gorgeous room I've ever seen, if anybody out there was at Rex the Halls a couple years ago, we rented for 2 nights a grand villa at Bay Lake Tower overlooking the Magic Kingdom, and it's a 2-floor room. The walls are literally floor to ceiling, both floors. So you have this view of the entire Magic Kingdom. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I was lucky enough to get to sleep there. I wound up being sick. And so there was no better place to be sick if you're in Disney World than being able to just go sit on the balcony and look at the castle. And it makes you forget all your worries. But that was insane.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna if you can find a walkthrough tour or something. I think we might have done one. I don't remember, to be honest, of the rooms just to see what a grand villa at Bay Lake Tower looks like. You should, because it's stunning.
You talk about off property, and there are a lot of great off property options in Orlando. I used to do when I didn't live in Orlando, when I lived back across the state. Often I called it Priceline Roulette, right? I'd go, hey, I'm going to do a long weekend over in Orlando. We go on a Priceline, set my criteria, and roll the dice and do the name your own price thing. And really, some of those places are great. Grand Cypress is great. I got Hilton Bonnet Creek once for $65. Marriott World, I think I got for $90. And then if you can get that Hilton by Disney Springs, that one actually gives you, or at least it used to give you, extra magic hours and Disney privileges. So
a lot of those Springs hotels too.
Yeah, so those are great, and of course, all those timeshares. Sometimes you can just steal those things. It depends on which ones. I don't think you can just get on Priceline and go to Blue Green or some of those that it's right by our studio. But I know that there's something World Quest is one of them. That is, you could just $200, you get a 3-bedroom for 3 nights or something like that. It's really great. So,
have you ever been to the Gaylord Palms?
Oh yeah, Gaylord Palms is spectacular.
Oh, nice.
I had the worst experience at Gaylord Palms.
Oh no.
Really?
It was gosh, 15 years ago, but it totally scarred me that I will never go back. I was there for a work conference actually, and so my mom came with me, and then we spent a couple days. We did SeaWorld and Disney for a couple days after, and we were inside the main area, and they have that huge glass domed lobby or internal sort of area. Atrium, thank you. And they were doing construction in there where they were breaking. Most of it is tiled, and they were like jackhammering the tile to like rip it out and refurb something or whatever. And so like you'd wake up at like 7 o'clock in the morning to just like jackhammers. And because they have the glass dome, like it just kept all the sound in, and the sound just kept bouncing off the glass and bouncing off the tiles. And all you heard was jackhammering the entire time you were there. And we complained, and they were just like, sorry, we got construction. What do you want from us?
Wow.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, so like that I did not have a great experience at Gaylord Palms, and I, with so many other options, I would not go back. It's not like it's cheap or anything anyway.
I'm asking Lee what her favorite is now.
For deluxe, it would be either Boardwalk or Beach Club.
She said for deluxe, it's either Boardwalk or Beach Club. Those are her
moderate,
two.
it's Port Orleans.
Moderate, Port Orleans. So there you have it. I Beach Club, Yacht Club, I mean, they're kind of identical, I guess. I just think Yacht Club, I like the decor more, maybe, but they're both great. They have the best, I think they have the best pools on property. Is there a better pool on property than the pool at Yacht Beach? True. Boardwalk, you have a bunch of swimming pools, which is nice. I don't know how many pools are at the Boardwalk, but it seems like every room I've ever had there looked at a pool that I hadn't been in before.
I don't do pools. Like, that is just not part of my Disney vacation and okay, so I'm going to regret saying this probably because I'm going to get flamed for it. I've never been to a Disney water park. I've never been to Typhoon Lagoon, and I have never been to Blizzard Beach.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not
I don't go to the pools when I'm there. Like, going to Disney is not about water parks for me. Like, I grew up in the Northeast. We have water parks up here. I live like 45 minutes away from Dorney Park, if any of y'all know that. And they built a water park when I was a kid.
Have you been
I've never been to Action Park.
Oh.
Is that in Jersey?
I think so. I think it's in Jersey or Pennsylvania or something, but it's like this totally extreme water park that like was like, I don't know how they get insurance. The stuff that they had, like they literally like in the 80s had a water slide that did a loop. I don't know if people actually rode it, but they built
I've seen that.
Yeah,
yep,
and they're
I've
like
seen videos of that.
And so the interviews are people saying like, oh, I would see my friend at school on Monday, and he'd have like his arm in a sling and a black eye, and I'd be like, oh, how was Action Park this weekend? That's Action Park.
So I'll walk that back a smidge by saying I have been to a Disney water park in the past. When I was a kid, we used to go to River Country like every trip. Jason and I grew up going to Disney. Our grandmother would take us every other year, and there would always be a trip to River Country. So I have really good memories of River Country, even though it wasn't, anywhere near the elaborateness that like Blizzard Beach has become or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I just remember like they had a little like 6-foot slide, and then it was like another 6-foot drop into the pool. And that was it. Yeah, like, it was just like, you went down the slide, you dropped for a few feet in like midair, and then you hit the water, and that was it. And I would just do that over and over and over and over again. So like, there was no like, I don't know, all these big elaborate slides. I guess I kind of stopped caring about water parks when I was a teenager, and it's just now when I go to Disney, that's not what I care about. So like spending time, if I'm going back to the room to like recharge during the day, I'm taking a nap or whatever. I'm not going to the pool.
River Country evokes images of like early 80s River Country just evokes images of like dudes with mullets and cut off jeans. Like that's what I think.
Totally.
A little bit.
I don't know. I remember a long time ago staying at the Contemporary and spending so much time in the pool because I was there. I was on like the academic team. I was like made like all county for my academic team. And the state competition was at the Contemporary Ballroom, and we got eliminated quick. But I was there for a week on someone else's dime, so I didn't have people to go to the parks with me every day because other teams weren't eliminated, so we just hung out at the pool the whole time. But other than that, like, yeah, Disney, I don't think a lot of people go to Disney for the pools. I think the ideal strategy, if you do want to use that, is you like rope drop the Magic Kingdom and you do all of your rides by like 10 a.m. and then you go back to the room and you chill by the pool and you relax and you have lunch and you do all that kind of stuff, and then you come back to the Magic Kingdom like in the early evening or late evening, and you catch the fireworks and parades, whatever. Well, not parades anymore, right? But you catch the fireworks anyway, and So I see the appeal of that, especially if you're on a long vacation. But I've never been in that position where I go to Walt Disney World for like a full week at a time, except for that one trip when I was a teenager. You know, but if I could afford to do that, like I saw someone like, hey, I saw the price of a 2-week vacation to stay at the yacht club, and I was like, what? 2 weeks? I've never been on a 2-week vacation in my life. That sounds great.
I was at
Those
I did
people
Blizzard
probably come
Beach
over
once.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was very cute. I'm not a huge water park fan either. I'm not a huge swimmer. I mean, I'll go, 2 years without ever having, step foot in a pool. There's like 2 years where I didn't even own a swimsuit. I just don't really go to the pool very often. But this was, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago. So I went to Blizzard Beach, and it was very cute. I liked it a lot. But
did Stacy talk you into it? Were you watching Resort TV and you just saw Stacy having a good time at Blizzard Beach and had to go?
Was it the wash cycle and spin cycle? Oh no, that was Animal Kingdom. Similar, there were, water parks that I would go to, I would drive to Jersey and I would go to some water parks. I would go to Keensburg, and that's where I would go to my water park for the summer. And I was like, it's fine. It's nice. But I would, if I'm going to spend the money, if I'm going to spend, all this time, I now that I live here, I might go a little bit more. But, when I was only going to be allowed to stay on property for 6 days, I want to spend my entire day in a place where I can spend an entire day, if you know what I mean.
Right. Mm-hmm. I get it. Yeah, water parks. I'm not a big fan, but I understand why they exist because there's a demand for them. We have the two large Disney ones, and then we have Universal has that big one now, Volcano Bay. That we kind of talked about how it looks crappy already a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I know Pete and I got going about that because it's what a year or two old and it already looks like sun faded and sad. And now it's sun faded, sad, and empty, unfortunately. So the favorite resorts, though, I don't know if anybody has any other resort features that they want to talk about. We have a little bit of time before we're going to take a break. But I like I said, I think the best pool is probably at Yacht and Beach. I may not go to that pool a lot, but I think it's probably known as the best pool. There's probably the best resort bars too, and I know a couple of them might be at the Wilderness Lodge, a couple of them might be at the Contemporary, a couple of them might be at the Polynesian. That could be a tough debate because there's some. I don't know. You try to put Trader Sam's and Tambu Lounge up against the bar at the California Grill and the Wave. That's a pretty good competition. Obviously Port Orleans Riverside's pretty set just with, if you go on a night when Bob is playing, if you have both Port Orleans, you have the Riverside and you have Scat Cats. Is that what's called? Scat Cats?
Scat Cats Lounge?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's no shortage of good places to go drink at Disney if you're like me and you get more enjoyment out of relaxing and people watching and having a cocktail than you do out of screaming your head off on a roller coaster.
I guess a couple years ago I did an episode of Around the Hub and I finally won, and like that was my rant at the end of Around the Hub, was basically like Disney needs better adult after hours options. And there are a lot, but I feel like if you're not staying on property and there's not something in where you're staying to do, like if you're staying at, I don't know, Caribbean Beach, I don't feel like you have as good options available to you as if you're staying at Boardwalk or Beach Club, you're set because you've got Davar, you've got Bellevue, you've got Ale and Compass. Like you can basically bar hop and Jelly Rolls. You can bar hop all around Crescent Lake and it's fantastic. But if you're staying at, a value or mid-level resort, you're basically restricted to only what you have access to in your resort. And some of those can be great and some of those can be terrible. But there's nowhere to go anymore. Like there's even Springs, like there's not a lot of stuff to really do that late in Springs, which is kind of annoying. Like everything basically shuts down at midnight. So if you want to be out late, like you don't have bars.
They have a bunch of good bars, but they don't have a great nightlife, I would say, at Springs.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can go get awesome drinks and hang out for a little while, but there's nowhere to And especially like for those of us who had the wonderful opportunity to hang out at Pleasure Island. Like it's just not the same at all.
Pleasure. Lee raised her hands in the air. Yay, Pleasure Island.
Oh, I miss it. I miss it so much.
Oh God, so much. Yeah.
The Adventurers. Yeah, I love the Adventurers. I mean, there's nobody that did not love the Adventurers Club. But
True.
and the comedy club. I saw Weird Al there. Like when I was a senior in high school. Like I was graduating that week. That weekend I graduated. Weird Al played out on the street at Pleasure Island. Like what?
Wow.
For free? Well, I guess it wasn't free. You had to pay to get in, but.
I also love the fact that because it was Disney, like there was one trip I went, it was with my parents and Jason and his now wife. They'd been together since high school and me, and I was 21 and I was like, okay, Disney, what do you got for me as a 21-year-old? And like, I hopped on a bus. We were staying at, it was Dixie Landings back then. Mm-hmm. We were staying at Dixie Landings. I hopped on a bus, went to Pleasure Island by myself and like hung out all night, and it was fine. Like I didn't feel unsafe. Like I could walk, I could go dance at the 80s at 8 Tracks, and then I could walk across to Rock and Roll Beach Club. I could go to you could go anywhere and you could be by yourself and it didn't matter. Like you didn't have to worry about feeling safe. You didn't have to worry about getting home. Like it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when Pleasure Island was a ticket where you had to pay to get in, or was that when they opened it up and you just had to pay for each club you went into? Because I think that makes a difference with Pleasure Island. Do you remember?
That was still when you didn't have to pay for each club for sure. Because I wouldn't have club hopped to every single club on Pleasure Island if I had to pay to get in it.
Because back when you could buy one admission and then you're in everything. I think it felt safer and it felt, it was a little bit more comfortable to go there. And as much as I hate paying all that money to go in a place, I think once people realized they could go there for free and hang out on the street and just catcall and whistle at people and all that I think it got a little bit worse at Pleasure. I don't know. Maybe, Chris, you were going to say something. I interrupted you.
Oh, that I can relate. I did the same thing. My mom and I went on a trip back in 2008, and she was tired from whatever we did that day. So I said, going to Pleasure Island. And I got the wristband for like the multiple clubs, went to 8 Tracks solo. I was like, I don't know, early 20s or 23, 24. I went to 8 Tracks Motion, which was like a cast member night or something, but I ended up just sticking to the bar, and the bartender was from a city that was close to mine, so we had a lot in common. We were pouring me drinks on it. It was like doubles. It was like doubles for $5, like double rum and cokes for $5. So it was super good prices.
Cast member nights. Were they Tuesdays or Wednesdays? I didn't remember, but they had those cast member nights, and those were the best time to go. They had good deals.
It was awesome.
All the cast members are there to have a good time, and they kind of all get it.
Yeah. Mannequins was the last one. Right?
They're rotating dance floor.
And the big fog machines, like the huge, like cannon-sized fog machines they had. I love that. That was so much fun.
The Rock and Roll Beach Club had like a roller skating rink that on one level that went around.
And then there was like the balcony around the top where you could just stand up top and like watch everybody down below.
Yeah, it was great. It was
awesome.
It was so good.
I understand why it doesn't exist anymore, but I don't think it was I still think something like that could and should exist. We may get into that later when we talk about flushing the parks. I don't know, but Pleasure Island. That was a good time, and that was, we discussed it on the March Madness. I love the restaurant, the Fireworks Factory. That was a great restaurant. Mm-hmm. Now that was apparently at one point was going to be an attraction that they were going to build somewhere and call it the Fireworks Factory, and it was not a restaurant. It didn't have the window that you stand at the urinal and look out of like you could at the old Fireworks Factory. But no, that one was a good time. I remember all those days are good, and I wish we had something like that. The comedy club was great. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We don't get anything like that anymore. Now, I will say they have some really great bars down at Disney Springs now, but like we said, it just isn't the same. It's not. It doesn't feel like a nightlife destination. I like to go hang out. We're more day drinkers, I think, anyway. She's laughing. I think we're more day drinkers. Maybe we're day drinkers because there's no light.
I don't care what time of day it is.
I don't know, but the bar at the boathouse out on the water is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
The bar at Jock Lindsay's is great.
Jock Lindsay's outside,
yeah, out on that boat, that like little boat that's hanging or whatever. Yeah, that's really great. Lee really likes the sushi at Splitsville. Bowling Alley sushi, believe it or not, is better than people think it might be.
I heard that was really good.
Wine Bar George is great. There's so many great locations. I wish it was more of a. I understand, like, it's good to spread it out and you have shopping and dining and bars, but I wish there was kind of a concentrated nightlife entertainment area there. Mm-hmm. So maybe one day, I don't know. I think a lot of the things that I want to discuss today that we haven't even gotten to yet because I'm rambling, like plussing the parks and creating a resort. We have to do this with the understanding that these probably are never going to happen or are not going to happen anytime soon. The financial climate that Disney finds itself in now is one of those where it's not like we're going to snap our fingers and we're going to be back to normal and everything's going to be great. Every decision now is going to have like 10 times the weight that it used to on them because they're really going to have to consider the financial strength of the company moving forward. So I don't know if that means hoarding more cash so that this doesn't happen to them again, or if this means making cuts or being more efficient with what you have or downsizing. I don't think anybody knows. Bob Iger made a comment basically that they consider maybe getting rid of some real estate and being a little leaner and meaner, but he didn't necessarily say chopping things, but he kind of said chopping things. And or at least that's the way it was taken, and that's the way that I interpreted it. So I don't foresee them making any large infrastructure investments unless they have some sort of financial benefit to them in the future. So I think they'll continue putting like solar panels in if that makes the parks more efficient and cheaper to operate. I think they will consider more transportation options that are more efficient and cheaper. So they may weigh the Skyliner benefit of the Skyliner versus trimming down the bus schedules. If the Skyliner proves to be a little bit over the long term more efficient financially and still able to handle the people without them having to hire a bunch of bus drivers and burn a bunch of gas. I don't really know. That's I'm not very smart when it comes to that stuff, but I can see them. If they're making investments now and in the near future, I think those investments will be because there is some sort of payoff. It will either increase revenue or it will, decrease cost. So I don't know that things like me saying plussing the parks, which is adding things that aren't necessarily attractions to the parks, just that will enhance the guest experience, will happen because I don't think that unless they can attach some sort of revenue amount to it, I don't know that it's going to happen. So, but it's fun to dream, and that's why we're here. We are right here. We're just past the 12 o'clock hour. We have a planned break at about 12:15. So we have about 10 minutes to have a discussion. And I think we can talk about that plussing the parks. And the example I had given on here multiple times, and that I've shared with all the guests, is we had said, the view from the Skyliner could be improved. You're coming into Epcot and you see Jasmine, as we said last week, Jasmine vaping backstage at Epcot. You see kind of construction facades and like a dirty canal with some of those like floating yellow things in it, to keep, in case they spill gasoline and all. I understand there's a need for that. You have to have a backstage. You have to have areas that aren't in the view of guests. But planting some trees and hoping they'll grow in 20 years is a lot different from adding something that might enhance your experience on the Skyliner. And so the entire Skyliner run from the studios to the station at Caribbean Beach, it's just basically industrial. I mean, there's grass and trees. It's pretty enough. But we had discussed it. They could add some landscaping there. They could add maybe even some little scenes or some characters, something along the way. And I don't know if you guys have come up with any ideas yet of ways in the resorts that you think they could make improvements, be it landscaping or infrastructure that might enhance the guest experience without being an attraction itself. Did anybody come up with anything yet? And I'm curious with it in the chat too. Allison, let's hear it.
One of the things that I have heard from both my husband and one of my best friends, who's a guy, is the lack of variety for merchandise for men. They're always kind of walking around going, all right, so what kind of a t-shirt do we have? Mickey and Grumpy and maybe like one other character. And they're always like, I guess it's a t-shirt, or I guess not too many options for guys. And they want to get, they've been rolling out some of the nice collared pattern shirts recently, which is really nice to see. But there aren't too many merchandise, especially clothing options, or even non-clothing options that really geared towards guys. So that's one of the things that I know would really plus their experience when they're going shopping. They're looking for that stuff, and it's all very, very similar.
Right. Something that's either, you're right, it's either something that maybe is a little too childish in the imagery, or it is really like a stereotype of like, I'm the grumpy dad. I'm grumpy, I'm right, you're wrong. And, all that stuff is great for your grandpa if he wants it. But for people like me, there's not a whole lot of merch that I look at and go, man, I could really, some of the Star Wars stuff is kind of cool, but again, there's certain stigma. There has to be a middle ground. And I think they kind of hit it with the 28 in Maine stuff, which is more high-end apparel for men, but it is fairly scarce. There's not a lot of it, and the stuff they have seems to be designed for someone who's about 145 pounds and 6'3". So that's not me. So I haven't found anything in that collect. Yeah, there you go. We have one person. You're right, though. What do you think, Chris? I'm not skipping. I'm only skipping to Chris because he's, as a guy, he might have that same perspective, Joe.
Yeah. No, I agree. A lot of the stuff that I end up buying might be on like eBay or somewhere else, because there's not that big selection. Geez, they were selling onesies. I love onesies. It's really cold up here. They were women. It said just for women, and it was like an Epcot onesie, and it might have been a Haunted Mansion onesie, but the Epcot one. If they made like a man version of that, I would 100% would have been behind that. I would be wearing it every evening.
The only onesie I've seen at Epcot is a friend of mine bought the American flag like onesie pajamas at Epcot that had the trap door in the back, and he actually went into the bathroom, and his girlfriend, now his wife, Jackie. Hello, Jackie and Dan, if you're watching. We're sitting at the Cava de Tequila, and she goes, Dan, and he hands in the bag and goes, go put this on. He made him go to the bathroom, put on the onesie, and wear it the rest of the day. And I'm surprised Disney didn't stop us, because everybody we walked past stopped and wanted to take a picture with him. It's hilarious. So, yeah, you're right. Other than something that's kind of a gag,
Totally. No, but you're right. There's such an overabundance of grumpy stuff, and there always has. That's never changed. It's always been like a constant. Like that's what must be what the guys like. But no, I would love to see even just T-shirts and stuff with a better variety of characters or logos from the park on it that are for men and not just fit for women. Because there's a lot of women's stuff that I'm like, I would buy that, but it just no, can't.
There's a decent amount of like golf stuff, and I'm a golfer. But my problem is that it's either that really kind of shiny, light, like Nike material that I'm not comfortable wearing, or it's that really thick, like double knit cotton. They don't have any of the kind of middle of the road stuff for guys. I think that'd be great. Same with hats. Some of the hats. I don't know. I have a big head. I'm picky about my hats. And Jill, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. Like I struggle with this personally, being, going to the parks and trying to buy things to bring back to like significant others or my dad or whatever. And it's like the same crummy collection of stuff where it's like, oh, I guess you're getting another grumpy t-shirt again. And it's interesting because like, it's not just about, I feel like Disney is pretty sexist in how they do merchandise. Like everything is geared toward trying to sell to women to either buy for themselves or to buy for their little girls. Like not even
Princess,
it's the same. Like there's nowhere
Yep.
near as much stuff to buy for a boy as there is to buy for a little girl. And then like I have such an issue with the whole mouse ears situation because it's almost exclusively targeted to women. You're paying $30 for this thing that's like, I mean, it probably cost them 50 cents to make. Like, it's just Disney absolutely has a pink tax, and it leaves out the men, and it if they wanted to sell stuff more, like they could sell more stuff to women. I get that women tend to be more consumers of that kind of stuff, but women also want to buy stuff for men. So give us more options for that instead of trying to sell us like our 1,000th pair of mouse ears that's going to fall apart. Like it just, and that's the other thing. Like the other thing that frustrates me about merch, and this is a whole other story, and I know not really on topic, but they've started making stuff so cheap now. Like stuff is so much more expensive than it used to be, and it's so much more cheaply made that you get it home and your t-shirts start to fade or the seams start to pull out.
I bought
I spent $40 on a shirt.
I bought a Dynaco t-shirt a few years ago. Blue, had the big orange Dynaco logo on it. Excuse me. And I watched that thing twice before the logo was completely gone. It was cheaply made. The shirt was falling apart. Almost all of my Disney, quote, Disney t-shirts are ones that I've either bought like on Etsy or Amazon or designed myself. Like this is, I don't know if you see it. It's just, remember the guy from the Maelstrom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Disney's not going to sell that, right? But that's the kind of stuff that I think people want to see. It's like, hey, I get it. To your average person, they're like, oh, he's wearing a shirt with a construction worker on or something. But you're like Disney fan will go, oh, yeah, game recognizes game. I like that. Most of my stuff is stuff more along those lines. And the stuff I go to the parks. I can't tell you the last time I bought a clothing item in a Disney park, except maybe like a hat or something like that I probably didn't wear very much. So
I totally agree with that. There was one T-shirt that my wife had made for me, or she found it or something online, and it was just a white T-shirt with the Captain EO, like the red and yellow and blue, whatever emblem going down the shirt, and there would be the odd cast member that would walk by and be like, "That's cool, that's awesome, Cap." But if you know, but if you don't, whatever. It's the same thing with the one that you're wearing right now. Some people will get it, a lot of people won't. But when you do get it, that's the cool factor.
We make a big deal of 4th of July in my family. We love Disney. We love Epcot specifically on the 4th of July. And so last year I made a T-shirt. Or I ordered it. I had it made, and it just said, it's just a blue shirt. And it just said, Parliament's colonial policy is both arbitrary and unjust. And so people that were familiar with the American Adventure are like, I get it, I like it. And then like 90% of people I walk past would like actually stop and like lean and read my T-shirt, and they're like, he must be one of those like, have flags that don't tread on me flag or something off his giant 4x4 picture. It was like, I was like, no, you don't get it. It's an Epcot reference. So anyway. I kind of cut Jill off. She was starting to say something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, to exactly that point, nothing pleases me more than when I'm walking around the parks in a specific shirt or whatever, and like somebody stops me, or especially if a cast member stops me. I have an old 3/4 sleeve Expedition Everest shirt from like 2004. That was shortly after Everest opened and the Asia expansion in Animal Kingdom, and I wore it. I had it on at the Contemporary. I was leaving one day, and like the cast member out in the valet area was like, "Oh my God, that T-shirt is so cool!" And I was like, it totally made my day to have. Like, I still remember that story. It was like a couple of years ago. That like to have somebody stop you in the parks and like compliment your park gear is always so fun.
I'm going to pause our conversation real quick to talk to our viewers about wigs. Many of our viewers that are watching today already know about WIGS. WIGS is a WDWNT Interglobe Society. It's our Patreon group of financial supporters that joining for as little as $2 a month entitles you to post-show material, some exclusive merchandise and experiences. I know Jason Diffendahl specifically has been sending out a lot of old high-res scans of old park items, old Disney-related documents and things like that. We have WIGS events from time to time that you'll get priority access to. And generally, it's a great way to support WDWNT and all our staffers. It takes a lot of people to pull this off and continue to provide news on the website and all the great content that you're seeing, and even the bad content that you're seeing this morning. We encourage you, go to patreon.com/WDWNT to learn more. We'd love to have some more people join us as WIGS members. We love interacting with you. In addition, we want to encourage you to use the super chat feature if you're watching us on YouTube. Most of us are monitoring the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on Facebook, we appreciate it. We get a lot of views on Facebook, but it's harder for us to interact live on Facebook. So if you go to YouTube, there is a $ in the bottom by the chat, and you have an option when you click that. You can either provide a super sticker, which will pop a sticker up in the chat for a certain dollar amount, or you can pledge a certain dollar amount and put in a super chat whatever you want to. Just type to us what you want to see. We'd love to see some super chat donations today going on. In addition, if you are not a subscriber, we got one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did we?
Right. Pat Mick 75 for 99 cents. Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you.
We really appreciate any donation we can get. Also, we want to remind you to subscribe. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, you click the bell, and then you click subscribe, and then there's a bell to select notifications, and you have to click down to click select all notifications. I don't know why they do it that way, but it's just that extra little step, select all notifications, so you never miss anything. You can always ignore them if it's, if you know it's just going to be me and you don't you're tired of me, that's fine. We'll do that, but we appreciate all the subscribers we can get. We are adding a lot of subscribers. We're at almost 69,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we thank you very much. If you subscribe, feel free to like, share, comment on our videos on Facebook as well. We're going to be back in a few minutes. Chris, you're going to have to take off, right?
I will. Yep.
And then I think, Allison, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. We're going to continue the conversation. Jill will be here, and Pete Carney will be joining us. Is that right? Okay. So Pete, I don't know if Pete's joined us yet, but we're going to take a break with some fake commercials, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks for watching Locked In with Eric Morton.
People who brought you the Disney Parks Home Edition, we now present the 2020 Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, Eric's Apartment Edition. It may be dreary in quarantine for millions of people around the world, but in Eric's apartment, spring is alive. From the comfort of your own home, or from 6 feet or more away if you are deemed an essential employee of the apartment, we will bring you videos of this stuff. And whatever these are. And don't forget these things with the towels. You can even catch a glimpse of our experiments gone wrong. We truly have it all. Plastic plants, dead plants, plants from IKEA, and even plants that have been watered sometimes. And don't forget about our event-exclusive merchandise. Next, spoil yourself before you soil yourself with exclusive food and beverage items from our bare cupboard quarantine selection, like this refreshing vodka with Crystal Light offered at our patio kiosk. Or let your imagination run wild, creating concoctions with Fireball, rum chata, and chocolate liqueur in the office. Our mixologists aren't done blowing your minds yet. Check out our bourbon mixed with ice creations in the master bedroom. And don't forget beer people left behind at our last gathering over at the bookshelf. Outside the guest room, our straight tequila shots will have you wondering if this whole quarantine was just a dream. And of course, be transported far away with wine from all 3 regions of the apartment. Over in the kitchen, our chefs are working on some truly groundbreaking cuisine, like our famous 2-day-old Rotel Dip. Have we teased your appetite enough? Then try some of our delicious frozen treats, which include Hot Pockets and ice cream from last Christmas. Finally, get ready to rock out at our Garden Rocks concert series, featuring Butters, whose mom is friends with a woman who used to run a live music venue where ELO once played. You may know her from her hits such as Mr. Pooh Sky and Last Train to Barksville. We have all this and more at the 2020 Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, Eric's Apartment Edition, where the magic is on hold until further notice.
With the success of Pizza Rizzo and the Regal Eagle Smokehouse, we here at Walt Disney Imagineering have learned that our guests love bad counter service food with minimal Muppets theming. So, here comes more Muppet eateries at Disney parks. Yay! At Disney's Hollywood Studios, grab a wrapped sausage at Rolf's Roasters. Rolf has relocated to the edge of the galaxy to pick up piano-playing gigs at Oga's, but the money hasn't been great, so Rolf the dog has started slinging dogs at Black Spire Outpost's hottest new wiener joint. If you're visiting Epcot in 2022, get ready for a lightly re-themed dining experience that somehow took us 2 years to complete. It's Dr. Teeth and the Electric Umbrella! Can you just picture that? Imagine eating a dry flatbread to saying goodbye while you sit there and think about all of your favorite things we've ripped out of this park. Are you excited? Well, we won't take no for an answer. Then, head on over to Disney Springs for a trio of Muppets eateries. Grab some barbecue at the Miss Polite Piggy, some affordable chicken tenders from Chicken Gonzo's, and stop by the West Side for Pepe by Pepe. And no, not Jose Andres.
Come have a sandwich, okay?
And at Disney's Animal Kingdom, our most popular concept is getting a second home. Be sure to visit Pizzafari after we finish converting it into Pizza Rizzo 2.
They're tourists. They don't know good pizza.
The Muppets. We won't do anything new with them, but let's plaster their images in the background of restaurants.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, former chairman and chief executive officer of the Walt Disney Company.
And I'm Mickey Mouse, former mascot of the Walt Disney Company.
Former?
Well, I'm furloughed, pal.
Anyway, when I heard of the park closures due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I was concerned for my buddy, Mickey. But after getting a panic call from Donald, I learned that it was worse than I could ever imagine. As it turns out, hundreds of Disney animatronics and characters, face and fur alike, have fallen on desperate times.
You see, folks, everyone in the Magic Kingdom is starving. There isn't a churro to be found. It's awful. Rapunzel has sold her hair to Universal Studios' wig department and is scheduled to host a pay-what-you-can Facebook Live How to Survive Quarantine tutorial.
How about that, folks? Sad. Just sad.
Even Pinocchio has been lying non-stop in an effort to make his nose keep growing back.
Keep growing back?
Yeah, he keeps hacking it off each time and selling it to the lumberyard as scrap wood.
That's too bad.
And it gets even worse. The It's a Small World dolls have started a mutiny. I was told that Gus has lost 20 pounds in just 3 days. The redhead has turned back to her old ways for rum money, and last I heard, Peter Pan has been forced to get a job as a travel agent at, I guess I'll have to grow up vacations. I even heard that Snow White is considering auctioning off the dwarves, one at a time.
And that's not all, folks. Even our fan favorite right here, the Maestro himself, has been hit hard by this unprecedented turn of events. Tell the nice people at home what you're doing now, Mick.
Oh, gee, I don't know, Michael.
It's okay. Go ahead. Tell them. Now that you're out of work due to the recent park closures, you're
the newest member of the Chuck E. Cheese's band, since they're open for takeout.
And?
Oh, Michael.
Tell them your stage name.
You said I didn't have to.
Come on, pal. It's for a good cause. If your fans want to come cheer you on,
You can find me performing at strip malls across America under the stage name
Go on.
Ranch Dressing Ray.
You see, folks at home, it's right here. This right here is why we need your donation now more than ever, before this spreads to Epcot and beyond.
Luckily, they don't have many animatronics left.
Please, dig deep into your pockets and sponsor a cast member today. Our lovely volunteers are waiting by the phones to accept your generous and impactful donations. Thank you. And remember, there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, or something along that line. Come on, Mickey. Here's some Topps trading cards. Now let's go watch some BoJack Horseman.
Welcome back. It is about 12:28, almost 12:30. So we're going to keep on going. Pete Carney is going to be joining us. I don't believe Pete is here just yet. As they say, can you know the ocean? Can you lasso a star? Can you tell a rainbow to stop being a rainbow for a second? Such as Pete. He'll be here when he's ready. Pete will come and go with the wind as he pleases. I'm here so far with Jill Diffendahl. Like I said, Pete will be joining us at the break. I kind of adjusted my camera. Some people were saying it was blurry. I had to move a light. It's this lighting thing. I don't know. I need Colleen or somebody to tell me how to do lighting properly. I can't do it in here. But I think we fixed it. If I'm still fuzzy, let me know. Don't let me go a whole hour and 15 minutes without telling me how fuzzy I am. Anyway, we will have the Butters cam. Butters might even be joining me on the desk in a little while. I don't really know. We'll see. In the meantime, we were discussing before the break kind of plussing the parks, so to speak, things to add, experiences to add. And one thing that was kind of a hot subject is merchandise for men. So we kind of went deep into that. There's a limited amount of merchandise for men, we think. I mean, obviously people are buying it, but I think your average guy like me is not interested in a lot of merchandise that's for sale in the parks. Maybe maybe we're all in the minority and we got outvoted, but that was kind of our discussion. We did not get to Jill to hear what Jill's thoughts were of things that we could do to add to your Disney experience that was not necessarily an attraction. So Jill, go ahead and let us know what you think.
Sure. So my idea for this is really a transportation thing. The fact that it's so hard to get from one place to another in Walt Disney World. And specifically, I'm thinking about this in the idea of trying to get from one resort to another. If you're staying on property and you don't have a car and you're relying on Disney transportation, if you want to go to, like, some of the best restaurants and best bars and other activities are in other resorts. And if you're staying in one resort and you want to get to a different resort and you don't have a car, like, it's going to take you an hour and a half because you have to go to either a park or Springs or the TTC and get from there to somewhere else. Like, it's such a, even if you're, on a monorail resort, like, it's still difficult. And it's a shame. And so to that end, I was thinking this, honestly, you know, you were talking about a lot of this stuff is never going to have is, you know, blue sky stuff anyway, but also in the idea that right now with the financial situation that the parks are in because of the closure and everything, it's probably even less likely. But honestly, I think this is something that might be useful for them when the parks reopen, because you're talking about lower capacity, lower ability, like your ability to have so many people in the park is going to be restricted, but you still want to try to bring people into the entire resort and try to give them things to do. And if you can get them around to some of the resorts, like you might be able to actually spread people out a little bit and give them a Disney experience without having to be crammed together in a park all the time.
This is probably a bigger deal. This is probably a bigger deal before Uber, but still, your point stands. Resort to resort transportation is not great. Oh, there he is.
Right, exactly.
The man, the myth, legend.
Pete. And just, you know, the idea that, you know, you don't want to have to pay for an Uber. And again, that's like Disney so dropped the ball on the whole minivan thing, because that was supposed to be their version of Uber, only it's so much more expensive. Like, I'm not going to pay $30 to get from one resort to another.
My friend like paid $45 in a minivan to get from Art of Animation to the Magic Kingdom. That is ridiculous. That's a $6 Uber ride.
Exactly.
For a bus.
And it's like, here's the thing, Disney, they're going from one of your locations to another of your locations to spend more money in that new destination. So like, facilitate them getting there so they can spend money at a restaurant, or they can spend money in the merch shop or whatever. Don't make it hard for them to get somewhere so they can spend money.
Yeah. And even if you have a vehicle, sometimes this becomes a problem. I know if I want to go, let's say, to eat at the boardwalk during Food and Wine Festival, where the Boardwalk Resort is not letting anybody park there unless they're a guest. Well, all the resorts now are putting up signs, if you're not a registered guest, you can't park here. We have Tables in Wonderland, which gives you free valet parking at those resorts. So that's the kind of the way around it, is to go ahead and get Tables in Wonderland. I highly recommend it. But if you don't have Tables in Wonderland, I pulled up to the boardwalk and said, hey, I want to go eat at the Flying Fish, or I want to go eat at the ESPN Club, or I want to go, you know, to Abracadabra or one of those places. They will actually say, you can't park here. We recommend you go drive and park at Disney Springs and then take a bus over here. That is totally insane. That is totally insane. And I get it, because a lot of people pull an end around on that, and they say, hey, I'm here to go eat at such and such a place, and they walk right into, you know, International Gateway and go to Epcot, and they use those Epcot parts. Shh, you know, and says, shh. If you're going to do that, do it legit and use buy the Tables in Wonderland card and get the valet parking. That's all.
Or if you're going to do it, like, so I do that all the time, either at Contemporary to go walk to Magic Kingdom, or at Ale & Compass to walk to Epcot. But I legitimately go eat there. Like, here's the thing. The Wave and Ale & Compass breakfast are two of the hands down best breakfast in all of Walt Disney World. So go and actually eat the meal there.
The Wave is a slightly elevated breakfast from Chef Mickey's, which is just upstairs, and is half the price, maybe less than half the price. I mean, obviously, if characters are important to you, sure, but if the characters aren't important to you, you know, or even if the characters are important to you, go eat at the Wave for $25 for their all-you-can-eat buffet, and then go to the parks and meet a character. You know, you don't have to have a character come by while your kid is eating, you know, Mickey waffles. But I don't know. I'm not trying to talk people out of the character dining. I know a lot of people build their vacations around character dining, but for me, it's like, it's a no-brainer, especially, you know, when you're talking about the price of those breakfasts. Unbelievable.
But I mean, to that end, like, yeah, you could still do the same thing and do character breakfast, and you could have a res at Chef Mickey's, or you could have a res at Tri-Real Forno and do breakfast there and then walk to the parks. But like, yeah, there are definitely options, but you can.
And I would say there are some resorts that give you a little bit more trouble going in there to park and actually dine at their place. Like, nobody will ever pay you a second bit of attention if you're going to Port Orleans Riverside to see Hop Bob, or for any reason you can go into Port Orleans Riverside, because it's not, because you can, you know, it's not like it's giving you convenient access to something. You're not getting around the system to go there. If you tell them you're going to see something or eat something at the Riverside, you probably are. Pete, I want to give you a proper welcome. You showed up right in the middle. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I see you're wearing your Pete, what has become your Pete scripted clothing.
That's right.
I like it.
That's right.
You know, when
Mickey
people
hoodie.
want
This is
to
the most
do
comfortable
Pete
Pete I've ever
yeah.
purchased. Yeah. And it's nice and cool again here today where I can actually pull it off. It's not many days a year I can pull this off.
And I'm going to give you credit, Pete. I have never in my life been a person who drank the seltzers and all that stuff, but being locked in, I can't just drink beer all day or bourbon. So I did do the Corona. You turned me on to the Coronas. I don't do White Claw. I do the Coronas, and now I'm trying the Bud Light seltzer. It's
I tried
terrible.
those too. It's not terrible. That's probably the best one. I don't know, like, I don't like, and this is going to sound hilarious, like, because they're all so artificial, but I don't like when something tastes artificial. And I feel like the Bud Light seltzer, like, they force it a little bit, which, you know, I need that elegance. So the Corona has been my favorite so far.
My criticism of Corona and the Bud Light is both that you can't buy that stuff without buying the frickin' mango, and I don't like the mango.
Yeah.
That's
that
just
was my
me.
problem with
So
the
if you
White
want,
Claw,
I have like 9 mangoes in my fridge right now.
I can muscle down some mangoes. I don't mind the mango. It's the in the White Claw multi-pack, it's the grapefruit, and I cannot for the life of me enjoy that. So that's Lauren's job. So right now in the fridge, we still from last week when we had all the White Claws, like we have like 9 grapefruits just sitting there. I'm like, Lauren, stop drinking the new Coronas and finish up those grapefruits.
Yeah, I have 9 mangoes, 6 of the Corona ones, and 3 of the Bud Light ones. Just sitting in my fridge waiting for when the coast is clear and you come over. I'm going to get when the coast is clear and we can all watch fireworks, from Magic Kingdom fireworks from my back patio again. I'll have plenty of mango saved up for you.
I am in.
I also hit the Woodford pretty hard last night. That was probably a mistake.
I drank a ton of beers last night.
Yeah, you had a whole new stash. I saw that on the.
Yeah, I was on Who's Q Is It Anyway last night, which was a ton of fun. And so I started drinking. We went on a beer run yesterday. Our first one since the whole Corona thing. So like I've only been drinking wine and Coronas. So I was like, oh, beer again. So I had, I don't know, like 6 or 7 double IPAs, and then I rounded out my evening with some regular IPAs. Yeah, and I didn't go to bed until I think like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m.
Yeah, I need to make a beer run. We have like our Publix has that like app where you can order everything, and then when we show up, they just come out to the curb and load it in our car. I think we have some beer on order, but I really kind of want a friend of mine. I used to actually share an office with. Her and her husband own a brewery called Three Daughters in St. Pete, and they sell a lot of beer here in the Orlando area. So Lee Harding, I want to plug the Three Daughters Brewery. I'm going to try to get some of your beer. I really like the Beach Blondale. Jill, are you a person that enjoys having a cocktail every now and then?
I have, yes, absolutely. I'm loving that I'm having this conversation with you guys, because I feel like you are like 2 of the top 4 people on WDWNT staff that I would want to drink with in Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
And I have already done some drinking with Pete in Walt Disney World. So I feel like I'm not like I'm an evening and nighttime drinker. I've been hitting up some variety of beers. Like I'll go over to Jason's, maybe not entirely quarantine approved. I'm still like visiting my brother once in a great while. But he always has an awesome selection of random beers, blood orange, wheat ale, or we had this amazing, it's a collaboration between Dogfish Head, which is up here in the Northeast in Delaware, and
in Milton, Delaware.
Milton, Delaware. Yes.
Dogfish Head and who's the other?
And Rodenbach, which is a brewery in Belgium, who is one of the sort of preeminent manufacturers of red ales, red sour ales, which are I'm a sour fan. Like sours are my thing. And they made this beer called Vibrant Potion that is just, if you can find it somewhere, drink it because it is so freaking good. It's like a sour ale. It's got some hibiscus. It's got elderberry, which apparently is good for your immune system. So that's my excuse. I'm
drinking beer for your immune system. I like
exactly,
it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm
not a drunk. I'm just taking precautions for my own health.
Right. I mean, alcohol kills germs, right?
I saw somebody, the dumbest person on Facebook posted like, hey, if soap and hand sanitizer kill coronavirus, then how is it we don't have a cure? Like, I guess you just drink it, if you get it and scrubs out your lungs. I don't know. There's a lot of dumb stuff going on around this. But I like that all these breweries are doing collaborations are a big deal. Like, it's not just music, right? Now you can't have, I don't know any artist that does their own song, right? Even Taylor Swift now is like collaborating with the dude from Panic at the Disco, and you got Justin Bieber collaborating with 19 people on, but the brewery collaborations I like. And the one that really I wanted to do that didn't was, there's a brewery in Kansas City, which is that I grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, which is near Kansas City. They have Boulevard Brewery there, which is sometimes you'll see their stuff down here at Disney World.
Their Tank 7 is everywhere.
Yeah, Tank 7 is everywhere. Because I think they got bought by a big Belgian company that has better distribution. But Boulevard did a collaboration with Cigar City in Tampa. So being someone who has spent half their life in Tampa and half in Kansas City, it was great to have a Tampa brewery, Cigar City, collaborate with Boulevard, a Kansas City brewery. But I never was able to find it. So unfortunately, I'm stuck drinking whatever I can find. We'll see.
Here's one of the things I
miss just going to the Rose and Crown on a Sunday afternoon and having a Guinness or something like that. Go ahead, Joe.
A black and tan. There's a house-made collaboration.
Exactly.
One of my favorite things to do when I go to breweries is to mix beers. I'm a huge fan of mixing beers, especially if you take something like a sour and mix it with a Hefeweizen or a wheat ale. You can take something like a raspberry ale and mix it with a stout. That's like my favorite thing to do when I go to a brewery is, especially if they have a lot of choices on tap to mix things and sample new stuff. But yeah, in general, I feel like collaborations tend to be more housed at the breweries, and it's harder to find them like packaged and sold commercially where you can go buy them. I remember one time years ago, I was in San Diego at Coronado Brewing Company, which is at it's near the big Coronado Hotel that Grand Floridian is actually modeled after. And they had done a collaboration with Kona Brewing Company in Hawaii that was a hibiscus wheat ale. And it was like one of the best beers I ever had, but it was only available in the brewery. It's not like they ever sold it anywhere that you could go buy it.
Yeah.
I just had the Kona Pog beer.
Go ahead, Pete. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, just because you were talking about Kona, I just had that new Kona Pog beer. I think we wrote it up on the website.
It's so good. It's so good.
The amount of beer available, the styles and types and amount of breweries now with the popularity of craft brewery is amazing. Compared to where we were like 20 years ago, it is unbelievable that you can find almost anything out there. And that's why all these places are so popular. Like, I'm kind of worried about CityWorks because they just opened right before everything closed down at Disney Springs, and they had such a great large selection of craft beer.
And they were 5 months late.
Yeah, and
they
seriously,
were late.
That is something that's missing in Walt Disney World is like extensive selections of craft beer.
Right.
Yeah, the list is decent. There were 4 beers out of the 70 I never had.
Yeah. When I was at the end of my Marine Corps career, I was stationed in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and didn't have a great beer selection, but that was kind of back before all the craft beer really took off. Well, my roommate Mike and I had a really good selection of craft beer, but we were stationed with a bunch of people that didn't know the difference. So there was an unwritten rule. Everybody worked in watch sections. So if you were off, let's say you're asleep, and then the people who are, because you're going on to work the next day, and the people who were off for like 3 days, the rotating watch, they're partying all night. So the deal was if the stores were closed and they were all drinking and they came to your room and you had beer, you had to kind of give it to them. It was just our agreement because the store would be closed and you don't want to stop somebody's party. But I remember we would keep a stash of, there was a beer called Otway, Hattuey. I think it was made by Bacardi. It was like a Cuban beer that was then made probably, I don't know where they made it, but we got it. And it was terrible. It was like, remember how bad Ice House was? It was like skunk Atway, Hatuey, Atway. And it's terrible. It was like skunky Ice House. And so we used to keep all our craft beer like in the bottom of the fridge. And then we would keep like a couple 12ers of Atway in there. And that way when people came beating on our door at 2 a.m, they're like, hey, beer check. You're like, here you go. Here's the worst beer in the world. And they would take off and not even notice the good stuff that they had underneath them. Those are the good old
days. Do you know that Atway is brewed in Greenville, South Carolina?
Is it? I wonder if it was when we had it in Cuba. I assume it came over from Puerto Rico.
It's made by Thomas Creek Brewery, which contracts for Bacardi.
Yeah, because I know it was a Bacardi brand, and it was it's
rated terribly. So you're right that it's not good. I think it has like a
it was not good, and that's a beef I've had with Disney. I lived in Orlando for like a year in 2012, and I had a good friend who his wife works in association with Disney Weddings, so they're on property all the time, dropping things off and picking things up. And I would say, hey, let's meet, let's go do a lap. Doing a lap just meant we were going to go to Epcot and we were going to hit. Not every country, but we might hit 3 or 4. But even if he wasn't going, if he was going, definitely we would always go to Germany because they had that spot in Oktoberfest, which I really like, and it's not easy to find it on tap. Well, then they got rid of it, and I was so pissed off. They had this Alten Münster Oktoberfest for years and years since then, and now they got rid of that, and all they have in Germany now is like some kind of like grapefruit beer and Beck's. Like, I can get Beck's anywhere. Why am I coming to Epcot to get Beck's? And I don't understand what they were thinking with that. I'm sure that Disney pays almost next to nothing. It's like when you pay an artist or when you hire an artist for exposure. I think that's probably what they do with their beer vendors. But
it is. I know a Long Island brewery that gets poured at Disney, and they have to sell it for next to cost because you want to just be poured at Disney. You're in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of eyes every single day. You can say I'm served at Walt Disney World. I mean, I think a lot of the breweries will either take a loss or make the bare minimum profit or just cover costs just to be poured at Disney. So Disney is getting a great deal on beer.
I mean, for that matter, Coke is the same way. Like, because Coke, like, you can only buy Coke products at Disney. Like, there's so much. I don't think Disney pays more than cost for the Coke products that they sell because Coke wants the ability to say we are the exclusive, soft drink beverage of Walt Disney World.
And if they ever went to Pepsi, it would be the weirdest thing ever. And I don't like Pepsi, but I know that there's like a soda war in Vegas. So like most of the conventions you go to in Vegas, actually all those resorts and convention centers, most of them have Pepsi. And then they have a few that have Coke, and it's the weirdest thing. You're like, the last time I went to Vegas, I actually made a meme. It was like that, like, welcome to Las Vegas. And it was like, sorry, we only have Pepsi on the sign. It's like somehow Vegas became a Pepsi sign, Pepsi town. I'm sure it's just because Pepsi's given it away to have the account, to pour it there. Yeah. Pete, you look like you had something to say.
Probably, no. But I probably forgot it.
Relative to our discussion about plussing the parks, did you have anything that you think would be a good addition to the parks aside from attractions? Something that you'd like to see that would enhance a guest experience, maybe without
You're talking to me?
being an attraction? Yeah, I'm talking.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the regulars in the chat will have heard me say this because I think I've said it on 2 different shows or twice already in the last 2 weeks. But I'll try to mix it up for the show. But I am all about any kind of entertainment or something for when the park's closed. So I want a place that is fun from 8 until at least 2 a.m. For all the night people. I mean, especially for me, like I'm a night guy. Like I can stay up all night long. I come alive around 10 p.m. But I feel like a lot of people like that when they get out of the parks. If tomorrow's not a parks day or they're not rope dropping, they're on vacation, they want to let loose. They either have the babysitting through Disney and parents want to get out, or you're a couple visiting Walt Disney World. You want to go out at night. And I feel like there's just not enough. You can walk around Springs. Yeah. If it's a Friday or Saturday, they have more entertainment over at Springs. I mean, you can do Jelly Rolls, but again, that's hit or miss during the week. It's probably best Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and it's only Good Sunday because that's the night that cast members get half off, so it's usually bumping. But Jelly Rolls is hit or miss. The brewery on the boardwalk sucks. Abracadabra can only hold like 10 people, and
they can only provide a server for 2 people.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's real hit or miss. I've had really bad and really good experiences, but nothing in the middle.
I don't want to say I've had really bad and really good. I've had decent service there, and then I've had no service at all there. Like 2 or 3 different times where we sat down, literally, like shortly after opening, and just sat there and been like, is somebody gonna come? Are they gonna notice that we're, And they couldn't be bothered. But it seems like. I read a lot of Google reviews that said the same thing. Hey, this place, they ignore you, whatever. And after that, we gave it one more chance, and the last time I went, it was actually pretty good. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, hit or miss. I've had amazing bartenders there, and like I said, literally no service. And I was a server for many years.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, any kind of nightlife, and like I said, that could be in some of the ideas we came up with over the last 2 weeks on other shows and whatnot. Is Disney's own version of Topgolf, where there's Disney themed traps and family section on the bottom. Just having a better, it can be anything. Have like a divey type bar. I don't care if it's like not priced like one, but have a divey type bar. Have like those divey IPs or some themes like.
Oh my God, I would love that.
Yeah,
that is a great idea. Like a Dick Tracy dive bar. Or
something like
something old school, some kind of film noir place, or something grubby like the old gangster area in the Great Movie Ride with the little downstairs hole in the wall bar. You go in there and it's actually really big and fun.
I would love that. Like in New York City, bar owners sometimes will own both stores that are next to each other, and you can connect through the back area, so you can go from one theme to another. But even if you had if you had like the Western bar on one side and the gangster bar on the other, and you could go back and forth. Like, just give me some kind of fun theming. Give me something give me something I can go to at night that I want to take friends that are visiting and family to and say, you got to come check out this bar. It's the best bar in Disney property. Or, we can go do, they have karaoke kimonos, but that's, again, hit or miss. Certain nights are great. Certain nights are dead.
And that's technically not Disney property, too.
Exactly. It's third party. I don't know. So that's my biggest plus is I just feel like there's such a void. And that's when people are looking to spend money. Your markup on alcohol is incredible. It's like the highest markup you can have anywhere in the parks, especially when they get it for nothing. So,
there was a fad, a fad that probably started, 12 years ago or whatever, of all these Prohibition era speakeasy type of bars. I don't think they need to do that, but I would like the idea of something that looks like a dive bar, but is actually really cool when you go in. You just remind me of a story. I get off on these tangents. When I lived in Houston, when I lived in Houston, there's a Mexican restaurant called El Patio in Houston. It's El Patio. So you go out there, and it's in a crappy strip mall, and it literally has like a laundromat attached to it, and like maybe one of those places that sells calling cards to like Venezuela or something. You know what I mean? Like just not a fancy strip mall. There's this restaurant, and you walk in, and there's a hostess stand in front of you, but if you turn to your right, there's a door, and the door just says "Club, no minor." And you go in, and there are no minors. Now, if you look at it now, I think they will call it Club No Minors because somebody told them it's no minors. But it used to say Club No Minor. And you go in there, and it's dark, and it's kind of hard to see what's going on, and it's intimate. And you sit down, they have comfortable seating, and they give you free chips in like that white Mexican restaurant queso that's so good. That's all free. And they come around, they have these margaritas that are just super strong and great. And they have a couple roaming mariachi guys like playing songs and taking requests. And it's the most surreal and amazing experience. And there are very few bars that can create that kind of surreal experience where you feel kind of you're just like, am I in a movie? Like, where am I? And I think Disney has the ability and the chops to pull something like that off. And they kind of did that with the Adventurers Club at one point, where you were really, we talked about Pleasure Island before you joined us, Pete. The Adventurers Club had that where you were kind of transported a little bit. And I don't see why they can't do that again. And I think they would be printing money if they built a few places like that. People love Trader Sam's. Trader Sam's is great. I have no problem with Trader Sam's, but Trader Sam's as a year experience may vary depending on the crowd and depending on what's going on because it is so interactive. But I would love to see that too, Pete. That's a great idea.
Under 12 months. No other investment Disney's making is paying itself off that fast. On Disney property, a bar or lounge would pay itself off within 12 months. Yeah. And I just know people in New York City who have done it, and it's rare to do that. But with the margins Disney has and the captive audience, it would be easy.
Yeah, City Walk has better nightlife than, Universal has better nightlife than Disney right now. I have this City Walk stuff, and I don't go out there because I don't, whatever. I don't go there very often. I got to stay loyal. But also, I usually would want to go there early enough that they're going to charge me for parking. So I think it's after 6. They don't charge people with local driver's licenses or something like that. No. I've been no. But I like City Walk and I like Universal. It's all great stuff. But there's plenty to do here. I could be at the Wave in 5 minutes from where I live. So, why get on I-4 and drive all the way over there and then have to figure out how to Uber back if you drink too much or whatever. But I think there's space for that still, even though they had Pleasure Island and got rid of it. I think there's still a place for some kind of elevated nightlife experience, more an engineered nightlife experience, so to speak. Not just plopping a bar here, but actually doing something. And what set the Adventurers Club apart was they had entertainers. They had like professional people singing, interacting, performing. That was really cool. I would love to see that.
Well, I think that's a theme we've been talking about is that if you have quality cast members or people working there, that's when people want to come back. What would Trader Sam's be if the bartenders weren't loud and crazy? Like that. Abracadabra. We talked about the experience. Like if you have a great bartender at Abracadabra, I had some of my favorite nights at Abracadabra twice. I didn't want to leave because the bartenders were so good. Same thing if you go. Any experience is going to be the cast members. That's what it takes. So like, I think we can agree whatever we build or whatever we plus. It comes down to cast members.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, Disney has shown that they are keen to eliminate any type of experience that requires the additional cost of cast members. Everything they've done has been kind of, not everything they've done, but most of the things they've done seem to have minimized the amount of cast member input that is required to operate the facility. So whether that is a new attraction or a new guest experience, I know in entertainment specifically, there's a lot less than there used to be. And people are noticing. People notice that. If I'm 8 years old and I'm coming, or 7 years old and I'm coming to Disney World for the first time, I'm still like sensory overload. I love it, and I'm going to have indelible memories that I carry with me forever. And I'm always going to harken back to 2020 or 2019 or whatever, the first time I went, and go, man, I wish it was like this when I'm 30 years old. But they're missing something.
No one's going to wish it was 2020 ever. No one's going to say I wish it was 2020.
Yeah. We are, we're all trying to come up with things to keep our minds busy in this time. What Lee has done, we have begun a 1,000-piece puzzle. I showed the puzzle, all the Cinderella merchandise she got from the Cinderella release last week or whatever. And there's a 1,000-piece puzzle in there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, puzzle. Little kids do these. You slap a puzzle. No, this thing is freaking hard. Half this puzzle is black. It's just a black.
You gotta up your game, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do the puzzles anymore. Where there's a door, we've got the door assembled, and we've got some edges now. But this is mostly a Lee operation at this point. I can't just look at 700 black pieces and figure out how to assemble them together.
I can literally lose like half a day working on a jigsaw puzzle. That is like something my family does all the time, and it's like,
yeah, we have the different sections on cookie sheets. So that we can, I'm going to work on this. I want to set it aside. We don't have a ton of space. So we have all these cookie sheets with like wax paper on the bottom. So and then you do the puzzle on top of it, and then you can take it and move it and transition it to, now she has a yoga mat on top of the coffee table so that when we're not using it, we can try to like carry it or roll up the yoga mat into the other room and then bring it back and roll it out and everything will still be there. I don't know if we'll ever get this thing done. And I don't know if we're going to keep it together once it's together. I don't know what you do with puzzles. Do you glue them together and keep it, or do
you? Gotta frame it.
Yeah, and then frame it. I guess so.
That is an option. Yeah.
Yeah. And Butters has already, I think, jumped around on it and lost it. Maybe sent a few pieces under the couch or something.
That's the worst, when you get to the end and you're missing like 1 or 2 pieces and you can't find them anywhere.
I guarantee we're missing a piece. There's no way we're not missing a piece. Even like quality control wise, do you really think that all the pieces always make it into the bag when it ships? Surely there's someone with a sense of humor working at the puzzle factory that's like, take a piece. They either take a piece out or they put in a piece that doesn't fit anywhere. They do one.
That Cinderella puzzle. That Cinderella puzzle is Ravensburger, right?
Yes.
She said
yeah.
Yes.
So Ravensburger is a pretty high quality puzzle producer, and they have I think you can do it through their website. Like you can, if you're missing a piece, like you can basically like request them send you the missing piece. Like they will be like count over and down. Yeah. Wow. I think you like count it because like generally it's very grid-like where it's like rows after rows after rows, and if you can tell them like it's the 32nd piece over and the 12th piece down, like they will send you.
Wow. Can you imagine if that's your job? You work at Ravensburger and you get the emails from people that are like, I'm missing a piece of a puzzle, and you have to help them figure out which one it is.
Hi, Ravensburger. Okay, which piece is it? They think it's a crunch.
I'm not gonna lie. I would probably
it's Aladdin crunch.
That job is probably like, I like helping people and I'm incredibly detail oriented. That job is like right up my alley.
But think about it, they have like a part number for each piece of that puzzle. Somewhere there's some schematic drawing with 1,000 unique part numbers for each piece of the puzzle. We were playing Jackbox games last night, Pete, and there was a question. It was like, it was one of those things where you try to figure out who's lying. I think, was that Fibbage? I don't know. And it was every tree in Melbourne, Australia has a unique email address. That way, if that tree is like dropping branches or whatever, you just email that tree's email address and they know which one it is. That seems
like what, the Keebler elves come out and fix it? Like what?
I don't know. There's some guy whose Outlook is configured. There's some guy whose Outlook is configured with 27,000 unique email addresses waiting for an email on that tree to dispatch
eating server space somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have Office 365 dates. Yeah, you can probably just create an alias for that and you're fine. But that seems excessive to me. But yeah, so there's a person somewhere that might even be considered essential business that responds to your query about missing puzzle pieces. That's good to know. I can only imagine. That would be.
It's a Ravensburger.
Yeah. They're like the top puzzle, or is there a higher?
They're the Rolex of puzzles.
They are. They're the. I honestly don't know if there are other puzzle companies that are as high caliber, but Ravensburger's up there for sure.
Ravensburger. I don't know. Oh, by the way, one thing I left out earlier, and I have in my notes here, was we didn't say anything about the RPG. And so I had that RPG. Is that tonight?
Tonight at 8:30.
Tonight. Yeah.
I'm on that too.
The RPG is tonight. And for those of you who are like me, I don't have the first clue what this is like, but so I had to ask, and they explained it to me the other night. You don't have to know anything about what's going on, because what you're doing is, for the sake of simplicity, you're watching people like Pete play Dungeons and Dragons. Is that right? Like, you're watching other people play the RPG and experience whatever Tyler has created, this world that Tyler has created. It's probably going to be pretty entertaining. So I'm looking forward to checking it out. You're going to watch these people. It's called the Tomorrowland Travesty. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tomorrowland Travesty. Tyler has been leaving, I guess, little breadcrumbs throughout different broadcasts or commercials. I think he had a little bit that's been shown a couple times on WDW News Tonight. And I guess that those of you who are participants, who I know you're participating in this, Pete, Baby Powder Pete, you said, is your guy?
Yeah, and Baby Powder Pete will be there tonight, yes.
And then, is this like, do you roll dice? Is that?
Yeah, so again, like you, I had no idea what it was either. Like, I had never done like a Dungeons and Dragons before I did my first role-playing game, which is what RPG stands for. my first role-playing game was WDWNT on a marathon show when we tested out this role-playing concept. And I had a blast. I mean, anything where I can create a character and then kind of run with it, and that character grows and builds and then connects in other ways with other characters. I love that free form. Kind of like Who's Q Is It Anyway last night. Like, I love that improv stuff where you can have fun with that. So, yeah, I jumped in on the first episode, and I fell in love with it. We go on adventures. We don't even know what's going to happen. Tyler doesn't know what's going to happen either, but he has different paths. It's kind of like, oh, man, I'm going to date myself, but I think it was
Choose Your Own Adventure
books. Yeah, the Choose Your Own Adventure kind of books. And that's what it is that we'll go somewhere, and Tyler's like, all right, as a group, do you guys want to lift this rock and go through this underground utilidor, or do you guys want to jump this fence and go down the path over here? And we have to figure out what's best for us as a group and what our strengths and weaknesses are and whatnot. And we're trying to solve a problem each episode.
Maybe
we found Buzzy and whatnot. Yeah.
I don't know if Kevin has this teed up or can find it, but maybe at our next break we can
8 o'clock tonight. 8 o'clock tonight.
We'll do the little bit that Tyler filmed, because Tyler filmed something about the RPG. It might be helpful. Also, I'm told the Butters cam is ready. There's a lot of demand for Butters, and she's been pretty lackadaisical. We changed her food, and we're not sure that she likes it. She's been kind of sluggish after changing a dog's food is a big deal, but the stuff we've been getting her is hard to get. So here's Butters. She seems happy. She seems
Butters just hanging on her phone. She's got her phone right next to her.
Yeah, she's got a selfie stick.
Yeah,
post it on Instagram.
Yeah. She hasn't been groomed lately. She's been kind of.
Does that say that's a pimp certification book? Does that book say pimp certification?
PMP. That's
I was close. I thought
Are you a project manager, Eric?
I'm a project manager, but that is not my book. That is Lee's book. She's in the middle of some sort of project manager education program.
Just FYI, that's the company I work for, is the people that make the PMP certification.
Oh, great. The Project Management Institute, the PMI.
Everyone's pimping. Dude, everyone's pimping.
Can you fast track Lee on the CAPM thing she's doing?
Sadly, no. The CAPM shouldn't. The CAPM is way easier than the PMP, though.
Yeah.
So, Michael X in the chat. The link for the RPG, well, to watch it is just like how you're watching this.
You just come to YouTube tonight. It'll be on.
Yeah, but I don't know if there is. I don't know if there's a link where did Tyler ever write anything up? Is there a link? I don't know.
No.
But yeah, if you want to watch it at 8 o'clock, Tyler will explain everything when you watch. You don't have to come prepared. You can just enjoy the crazy ride and antics. We also interact with the chat too, so if you guys are involved, you can help us make decisions. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun.
Sift through WDWNT.com and you might find something. If not, maybe you find an article that you find interesting. We've plugged a lot of articles recently. Love to get the web traffic from you guys. Brings me to a nice little segue into talking about WIGS. It is we're just past the top of the hour. WIGS is the WDWNT Interglobe Society. That is our Patreon group that supports this organization financially. We want to encourage you to go to patreon.com/WDWNT and learn about the benefits that exist from being a WIGS member. You can become a member for as little as $2 a month. You can also get higher sponsorship levels, and you can cancel it at any time, I think. But WIGS, among their benefits are they get post shows where, let's face it, on this show, we go over almost every week. You almost get a free post show. So it's kind of like having a WIGS preview, just with lower quality content. And you can do that. You get we have some WIGS events from time to time that you can attend. I know we've done a lot of different events that I haven't actually had a chance to be a part of yet, but you can see Pete's in here a lot. I don't know if we have the video of Tom, of Tony handing out spaghetti to people, but that is also, you never know when you could get some spaghetti handed to you directly by Tony Ragu, one of our biggest members of this staff. So check out patreon.com/WDWNT to learn more. We'd love to see you join.
That was our private fireworks show right there. We had a private fireworks on the beach. Pleasure Beach was such a fun event. One of my favorites.
That sounds amazing. So check that out. Also, we want to plug the super chat. If you look at the bottom of your chat window on YouTube, there's a $sign. That $sign is so you can give us money. That's the only source of money for feeding Butters. So if nobody donates, well, she just might have to starve. I'm sorry, Butters. No, feel free to donate in the super chat. Yeah, we had to change her food. Well, no, it's hard to go to the place where we get our food because like some kind of frozen food, and she's kind of bougie. And anyway, somebody recommended we try this dehydrated food, and we're not sure if she likes it or not. So she likes people food the most.
Who doesn't?
Anyway, yeah, who doesn't like people food the most? So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. This will be a little shorter than the last one, and we'll come back and take this thing home for the last hour. So thanks for joining us. This is Locked In with Eric Morton. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Say bye, Butters.
Hello, adventurers. I'm Skipper David from WDWNT, the RPG, and I'm sending this message from the future. Our cast of players are going to have to make an impossible decision, and they need your help. To start playing the game, go to WDWNT.com/RPG, solve the puzzles, and send in the data necessary to help them make an impossible choice. Then, tune in live on April 18th to see what happens. Good luck, brave adventurers.
Afraid of crowds in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? Don't worry, they didn't show up here at Disneyland! Upgrade your annual pass today and enjoy what we finished of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. You can stand in the Forgotten Forest of Batuu. Is that the Forgotten Forest or just Fantasyland without crowds? You decide! Back here on Earth, enjoy all the pathways that were widened and planters we removed all around the park for absolutely nothing. Hooray! There's so much more room for activities. You can also park wherever you want at the Disneyland Resort. Park over the line, across the line, over 4 spaces, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. What's that? Low crowds aren't enough? You need more. Well, who has 99-cent refills if you buy an ugly tumbler? Who does? We does. On the floor and out the door. Not good enough? Screw it! Free refills for life! Come to Disneyland! There's even free beer at Disney California Adventure. That's right, the band Free Beer is playing all summer at the Paradise Garden stage. And don't miss our weekly specials. This week, all Spirit jerseys are buy one, get one free. All purchases also include complimentary seating in the newly reimagined Main Street Cinema. And remember, the only place to buy limited edition pins is now inside the park. So if you want to keep that eBay and or personal shopper business afloat, you'll have to buy a ticket. Wait, you think we should just lift the blockout dates on the more than $800 a year deluxe pass? We aren't that desperate yet. Are we that desperate, Bob? Bob's telling me we're not yet. He's really smart about these things. So come on down to Disneyland. We're still here, and we have Star Wars Land. No, Darth Vader isn't in it.
My 4th Disney trip of 2020 was canceled, and my one-woman authorized travel agency isn't getting any business with this closure. Help me, Ganondola.
Was your 500th in a lifetime Disney vacation canceled? Are you being selfish during a world crisis and want restitution for your losses as a travel agent? Call 1-777-777-7777 for the law offices of Ganondola.
Hello, I'm Bud G. Gunn.
And I'm Roz Dola.
How dare the Walt Disney Company cancel your dream vacation? We say you make them pay for it.
We'll fight for you until you get a complimentary stay inside the Cinderella Castle Suite, because your trip cancellation is more important than anyone else's.
We may all be practicing social distancing, but why don't you try some money closening?
We'll even get you some extra fast passes.
It's going to be so busy when the parks reopen that you're going to need them.
Do you even believe what you're saying anymore?
Nope.
Gon and Dola also handle wrongful termination cases for CEOs appointed just before a global crisis where the former CEO knew it was coming. Call 1-777-777-7777 for you to get the justice you don't actually need right now.
Mute this time. Welcome back. Happy Saturday to you. You're watching Locked In with Eric Morton. I am here today with Tom Corliss. I'm sorry. Sorry, we couldn't get Tom. Just kidding. I have Pete Carney and I have Jill Diffendahl, as well as the famous Butters. She's just going to join us right here on my desk for a little while we enter our last hour of the show. Again, thank you for joining us. Sorry we don't have to. I was just reading something about the roast of Tom Corliss in our little internal chat, and was like, his name was at the top of my mind there. So sorry about that, Tom. Anyway, we're kind of all over the place, but we've been discussing drinking at Disney, which is, let's face it, we have a few people here who are well qualified to discuss such matters. We are fans of Disney and drinking. Party with Pete. Pete from Party with Pete is here. And Jill Diffendahl, who is not only on-air talent for WDWNT, but also our HR manager, director. I don't know what to call you.
That's why when I get on Jill, she has to complain to herself.
The most personality you'll ever see from an HR person. I think that's fair.
Probably not in a good way, but you know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Jill streaking through Fort Wilderness again. Somebody call HR.
She has a really creepy doll behind her. That's Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah. We talked about this on a post show at least, right?
That's right. Yeah.
This is it's Alice in Wonderland. She is a giant Vinylmation. Jason gave her to me very recently. But yeah, she's like creepily crying.
He looks like Alice in Wonderland, like mid-quarantine.
Mister, I don't know you. Mister.
Right.
He's gained a few pounds. He's dead.
It's cool because on the side over here, you can see there are two little tiny Vinylmations that come along with her. So that's kind of nifty.
Wow.
But yeah, and she's like still in like the plastic packaging. I have chosen not to take her out.
Nice.
Yeah.
I talked about it last week.
My brother is the best and gives me awesome stuff.
We talked about it last week. I don't do all the collectibles, except I have 3 Funko Pops. One is Tiger Woods. One is Red from Pirates of the Caribbean, which is my nickname for Lee. That is over my shoulder here. That should always be on there. And then they had an Indiana Jones one that was gold. I was like, yeah, I want a gold Indiana Jones. And I bought it, and I ended up I had no idea it was going to be this massive Indiana Jones that I have nowhere to put, nothing to do with it. So anyway, we wasted time talking about that last week. The summary is I'm a moron, and I ordered something without checking the dimensions. Don't do that, especially when you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out how to make all of your stuff fit into it.
To be fair, Lauren does that for us too. She's like, I got this great deal on something on Amazon because like I don't really do the shopping. And like the other day, we ran out of hand soap, and I wanted to get the big refill to refill all of our hand soaps in the house.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find the refill, so she got another one that was a good deal. The big refill was like this big, and I'm like, babe, did you check the ounces? She's like, I forgot to check the ounces. It was just a good price. I'm like, yeah, because you bought 8 ounces instead of 64 ounces. You literally bought a fraction of what we need. Like, so you got to check those dimensions, Eric.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a bad shopper. I admit it.
You're clearly not a Funko Pop expert, and you didn't realize that Pops come in multiple sizes.
No, and the other thing is they have, I know, and they have these unique numbers. So I was like, okay, well, red is number 423. So if I order a 423, I'll get red, right? No, the 423 means what mold they use, not what thing it is. So I was like, wow, Tiger Woods, he's number 1. I can't believe that's the first Funko Pop. No, they just used whatever the mold for number 1 is.
Really? That's what it is? The number is not unique to the character?
No, the number is.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know. If you're stupid like me, you don't have time to think about all this stuff. If you're into it, I get it, right? There's probably a method behind the madness, but I haven't been. I think the Funko Pops, for the most part, are pretty cute, kind of neat. But yeah, I don't know. I know they had a Baby Groot one that was cool. I never got it. Yeah, I don't know. The numbers apparently
are hard.
They're hard.
They make so many. Like you could easily spend like your entire salary on Funko Pops all the time just because they make them for everything you like. I was really disappointed though. I have the Alice in Wonderland teacup one that was Parks exclusive last year, the year before, which, whatever. I bought it because I'm a huge Alice fan. I thought it was ridiculous because it was like $50 and it shouldn't have been $50. It should have been like maybe $40. But they just released a Cheshire Cat in a teacup that was supposed to be, I forget which con it was. It was a con exclusive, and because the con has had to be canceled, obviously, they put it for sale online, and then it sold out immediately, and I wasn't able to get it, and I was like so jonesing to have the Cheshire Cat teacup pop to sit next to my Alice teacup pop, but alas, she will be.
It's funny. I buy things that I see and I like, and I impulse buy them, and I don't have any notion that they could be collectible or that there's some method to collecting them. So maybe that's why I only have 3 Funko Pops. There's probably a few more that I would buy if I saw them, but I don't want to get out of control, and I don't want to have to learn a whole bunch of stuff about like the pin traders. Like
I don't have to learn.
I have 2 pins. They're probably all worth nothing. But I don't want to be the person that has spent all the time and research to know that the thing's actually worth like a lot of money. I don't have mental bandwidth for that. I don't think. I'm not good at it. It's not my thing.
No, that's like Jason and Tom are really good at that, but I am not.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not how Jason and Tom met? Was through pin trading? Did I hear that?
They met at a pin trading. I love this story. It's like so like When Harry Met Sally kind of. They met at a pin trading event in New Jersey. So Tom, I think most people know Tom used to live in New York before he moved down to Orlando a few years ago. And so they met, and Jason and I both live in Pennsylvania. And so Jersey, to be able to go to a pin trading event outside of Orlando, Jersey is drivable from both Pennsylvania and New York. So like that was a cool thing that they could go and basically have like a fan meetup with fellow pin enthusiasts in Jersey. So Jason went, and Tom was there. Tom had only recently started the blog at that point. And I believe the story goes that Tom was wearing a shirt that was basically, I think, get rid of the wand on Spaceship Earth.
Okay.
And so, like, Jason saw this. Right. and Tom was there by himself. I want to say he was like 19 at the time. And so Jason just like walked up to him and like asked him about his shirt, and like they just started talking, and Tom started talking about how he had just started the blog, and that, you know, then they bonded over pins, and the rest is history. And Tom was like, "Oh, you know some stuff. Why don't you do some stuff with my blog for me?" And then, you know, now Jason has been doing stuff for the blog for Tom for the last, you know, almost 15 years, I think.
Someone asked in the chat, is Red a firefighter? No, it's Red from Pirates of the Caribbean. As everybody knows, Red auctions off things. Red is an auctioneer for politically correct things to auction off now on Pirates of the Caribbean. So that is Red. But perhaps the mold was also used for a firefighter Funko Pop. Mold 423, if someone wants to look it up. Apparently that's how you do it. That is a cute origin story of Jason and Tom meeting. So pin trading, you never know what it could lead to. I can't imagine. I'm sorry. They were, never mind. I'm not going to say anything mean. I was just going to say they might have also looked like the two most normal people at a pin trading event that you would travel to, but I don't know. Like I said, I have like 2 or 3 pins. It's not my thing. I understand. But I mean, we saw a woman, or Lee saw a woman at, was it at Epcot? And the woman had, she was in like a mobility device, one of the little
ECV.
scooters. Yeah, ECV. And she had like several large Tupperware containers full of pins. And I can see where, like, if you get into it, it can just get away from you, and that happens. But I mean, I don't even know how you trade pins when you show up to the park with like literally thousands of them. And does she have like
in a Tupperware container?
Yeah, like several Tupperware containers, and had someone with her who had some too.
Feet.
Yeah, it's like several containers, like stacked like 3 or 4 feet high plastic bins, like plastic.
That's gotta take you like an hour to get through security with those.
Right, and so I'm just wondering, like, and then if somebody wants to trade pins with you, like, how long does that take? Well, hold on, let me go through my 10,000 pins I have in these bins. I mean, obviously, it's something that people get into and people enjoy and like, and I support anything that makes you happy and makes you do anything. I just don't know, like, how you make it work with that many pins, and who else are you trading? What are you possibly trading for if you have that many pins? Does someone really have pins that you don't have at that point? I guess so. I don't know how many. I don't know how many pins there are. I guess there's probably a bunch.
Oh my God, there's like 100,000. I mean, there's so many. When Jason moved about 5 years ago, give or take, and I obviously helped him move because he's the best brother, and I tried.
Because you're a good sister.
And one of the, we were bringing stuff out of the house and putting it into, you know, the U-Haul or whatever to move it. And he had his pins. He had like 24 by 36, like poster size, but they were cork boards. And he had all the pins on the cork boards. And then he had wrapped it with saran wrap, would fall off. But like he used to have them like non-saran wrapped on, like he had like a what do you call it? Like chair rail molding, but it was like wide this way so that you could put like a picture frame on it, for example. But he had the cork boards on there, like in his hallway with like, there were like 6 of them, like 20, like poster size cork boards full of pins. So he could see all the pins that he had. And that was not all, that was just like the ones he wanted to show off, because those were like the LEs or the special ones or whatever. He would go on, like, because you can pin trade with cast members, and cast members can't care.
They can't tell you no. Right?
They can't tell you no as long as you're trading them one Disney pin for another Disney pin. And they don't care because they're just like handed this lanyard when they like leave to go into the parks in the morning. So they're not their pins. They don't care. He would go online and buy like bulk bags of like old pins that nobody cared about for like $1 a piece. And then he'd take them to the parks, trade them to cast members to get better pins. You know, it was like to him, it was almost like a pyramid scheme, I feel like where it was like, okay, let me get
taking advantage of people.
That's what someone told me. That was true, because when I was asking someone about pin trading, they were like, go on eBay, buy a bag of 50 pins for $49, and then take those pins. They're going to be trash, but they're like, you might have one or two that are decent, but they're like, and then go trade with people in the parks. They're like, you will find amazing pins. You will get 50 better pins that are worth, anywhere between $8 and $15 for this $50. You're basically getting 8 to 15 times your money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom cards. People used to go crazy for those. They're like, dude, it's a card. I just got it for free at the fire station. They're like, yeah, but this card you have is worth a lot. It's like, well, you shouldn't have told me that. Like, I won't trade you one, but I'll sell you one. Right, they're like, that's not how it works. I'm like, well, then never mind. I don't know. But somebody came up with this pin idea way back in Disney, and I'm sure they didn't have any kind of inclination that this would take off as a.
Well, do you know where they came from? I can tell you where it came from.
No.
So it actually came from the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. Kind of, the Olympics.
96 Olympics.
That was when the bomb went off. Yeah. Richard Jewell. But yeah, so
it was innocent.
People would go and trade pins internationally with other countries and everything else, and they had this whole pin trading thing going on at the Olympics. And someone from Disney saw this and was like, "Wait a minute!" And then they had the whole World Showcase concept as well, and they were like, "Oh, we can kind of play with this," and then it kind of grew from there. And that's when pin trading really took off. Was after someone from Disney saw it at the Summer Olympics. And brought it back to Disney, and then it slowly grew from there. What year was that? That was
1996. 96.
Atlanta Olympics for 96.
And I know that because I was deployed during those Olympics, I think, to Liberia. But it was the same thing happens, though, when you're in the military and people know you're going overseas. They go, oh, people go crazy for Zippo lighters and Levi jeans. So people buy all these Zippo lighters and Levi jeans. By the time they get to wherever they're going, people are done with they have all the Zippo lighters and Levi's jeans they want, so I don't know. There's probably a bunch of poor guys that got stuck with 50 Zippo lighters that nobody wanted. Who knows? But I think if I were the executive, like at Disney, and you came up to me as a cast member and you pitched this, like, hey, these pins, we're going to sell these pins and people will trade them and all this stuff, I would have said, yeah, all right, you're fired. Nobody wants that. And it turns out to be like this big thing that's like a huge subculture within Disney fans that are just into the pins. So I love it. It's great. Great for those people. I like when people find stuff that makes them happy. And here's to you guys. Pin trading.
It's interesting too, because pin trading has persisted, I think, longer than people there's been plenty of other stuff that's been in that vein. Like Vinylmation is a good example. That people were super into
casinos for kids. Vinylmation was gambling for kids. That's a blackjack table in Vegas for a 7-year-old.
It's totally so the Japanese do it, and that's where the whole idea came from, that they basically have, you've got those little quarter vending machine type things outside the grocery store or whatever, where you put in a quarter and you get a bouncy ball or a piece of gum or whatever. The Japanese do that, but they do them with trading figures. So you put in $5 and you get a little trading figure, and it's in a blind box, and you don't know what you're going to get. And that's been a thing in Japan for years. And then Disney took the concept, and you can find it a lot more commonly here now, but Disney took the concept and made Vinylmation. WDWNT used to have a Vinylmation podcast years and years ago. It was a huge,
I guess
it just didn't last.
It's not a new concept. It's not a new concept. We had baseball cards when I was a kid. It was the same thing, right? You didn't know what you were getting. You bought, a dozen baseball cards with a stick of gum, and then you sort them into the, I used to collect them like crazy. I went to baseball card conventions when I was a kid, so I get it, I guess. The difference with pins is you can see what you're buying, right?
Right. Well, and look at Wishables today. Wishables are the exact same thing, where you get the blind bags, and we went last summer with my niece, and she wanted to get all the Little Mermaid ones, and we probably bought 11 Little Mermaid Wishables and never got a Scuttle. She has 3 Ursulas and 3 Ariels, but no, she never got a Scuttle. And then I just went in January.
Do they have wishable trading areas, or?
No, they don't. And I wish they did, because I think, you've got people that wind up with exactly that. What are you going to do with 3 Ursula Wishables? Who knows? I guess you can sell them on eBay, but you can never sell them for as much as you paid for them. But then like I just went in January and I wanted the park icon ones, and I got all 4, like I went 4 for 4 on the park icon ones, and it was like the greatest day of my life. I was like, I just won at life because I bought 4 wishables and got each of the 4 individual wishables in 4 attempts. So that totally made my day.
Hey, Lee, can you turn it down over there? Because I'm getting the feedback. Yeah, I mean, good for them. They found something that people like and is tradable and limited, and why not? Scarcity makes people want to buy these things and trade them. So good for them. Good job, Disney. I'm at a topic now that we plugged at the beginning of the show and we discussed, and I don't know that I'm ready myself to create this. I have so many ideas, but what if we were, as a group, to create the ideal new Disney resort? Is this something you've thought about? I'll bet this is something Pete has already dreamed of. So if you were to create a new Disney resort,
you have to be more specific with the rules. I have a whole bunch of stuff because you told me about this.
Okay, what rules are you specifically concerned about? Like, I would say you can't bulldoze an existing resort. It's got to be on Walt Disney World property. Okay. Other than that, I mean, put it wherever you want, theme it however you want, assuming it's either with, your own creative theme or Disney IP and not some IP that Disney doesn't own. Don't make a Harry Potter resort, please. And then let's see what we can create. What do you got?
Am I going first?
Yeah, you're first.
Oh, okay.
We can either plug our own or we can take your idea and build on it. But we got plenty of time.
All right. Well, resort wise, Disney, like when I started planning this, like my first thought was like I kind of wanted a World Showcase style resort. That way, like kind of like with Pop Century, where you have like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, or with the All Star, you have like the sports area, like the Mighty Ducks, the this and that. Like I wanted wings. So I thought it would be cool to have a World Showcase type resort. Then they built the Riviera, and the Riviera does cover that Mediterranean vibe. But I stuck with the World Showcase resort anyway. I don't have a name for it yet. This is just blue sky. But where you go and you check in, and it's kind of like this international gateway, like literally like it is in the back, where you come in. They might give you a passport to your specific area. So if you're over, and you can even use the countries from Epcot the way they are today. Like if you are heading over to the Italy section, and people might want certain sections, which I think could drive up price. Again, I got to make sure Disney's making their money too. But like, let's say you take a gondola over, like there might be a gondola that takes you to your room and then drops you off along the Italian area. You could have a lot of fun with Disney IP since we're already plugging into Epcot, but without putting it in Epcot. So like you can literally throw IPs into wherever they work in these 11 sections of the resort. And have a lot of fun with it. I think room-wise, you can have super elegant suites and resorts. Some of these countries lend themselves to that. And then restaurant-wise is a field day too. So it's kind of cheating, but I feel like it's giving you that World Showcase experience at Epcot in a much grander, longer fashion. Like you go there and you drink around the world, you leave or you hang out and you go around. This is you get to stay in one. So like I would be like, okay, we stayed in Morocco last year. When we go back to Disney in 2022, we should totally stay in Italy. And then like you're trying to like go in all of them and see the different style of rooms and architecture. And again, I don't think it would cost Disney more than it would cost to build a normal resort with the theming. It would be facades. You're obviously not building these big, beautiful things, but
yeah, I think that's good. I think the best way to do it would probably be to edit down the countries a little bit. Pick 4 or something like that, and you have your 4 segments of this resort that are very distinctive from one another, but have an innovative way to connect them. So I like that. I don't know which 4 would, if we were to do 4, what would you?
Well, here's the thing: is that like you already have Coronado, and which is very Mexican themed anyway. So like you don't have to do that right away, and you're already here in the United States. I don't think I would want to stay per se the United States section. And I would probably take out Canada because it is so close. People are coming from there. A lot of tourists come from Canada, and you can go take a visit there. There's not anything that's like super mega extreme to that respect. So, I mean, really, you can have fun with anything else in terms of, and you can have areas be split. Kind of in my head mock drawing is I did picture kind of going around a lake, which is like, you know, if you have been to the Coronado, most of the Coronado is a huge resort, but it was around this giant lake until they put the Three Bridges bar right in the middle. But like, so if you traveled around, like, I don't know, I feel like Germany and Italy kind of could connect a little bit. Like you can have that vibe, or like Germany, Norway, whatever it may be. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think the architecture would be so beautiful. I already love walking around the World Showcase, and it's like going to like a short dead end. If I could be totally immersed in a hotel where all the architecture on the outside looks like it, the food is just like it in that area, or even if you had one giant like cafeteria where you had the different food banks anywhere where you can go and have, hey, the kids want pizza, you go get pizza at the Italian, and this is quick service. But you want a brat, you can go get a brat over the Germany quick service, or I want whatever it may be. Have a giant cafeteria. Like, you know, in Brooklyn, we have these giant cafeterias like that where you can go in and say, like, I'm going to have Greek.
Like a food hall.
This guy wants, yeah, food hall, yeah. So
I think that's great. I don't know. I think you could put it under one roof, Pete. I think it could all be indoors, like a Vegas casino, like a Vegas hotel, where you can have your Italy section that is somehow transitions to there's a central hub, so to speak. Maybe that's where your dining locations are. I don't know. Yeah. And it slowly, the theme gets stronger and stronger as you get towards where your room is. You started underneath there, and you have Italy, and you have maybe the UK, and maybe Morocco, and I don't know, Germany, like you said. That could be kind of cool. I can dig it. Well, now where would we put this?
I mean, it's not like this big extreme original, but like, I don't know, like you can just throw IP into everything, and I don't want. Sorry, just found out my computer's gonna die to 6%. Like, so you get like, and there's stuff like this already, so it's not like an original concept. I just think it would be fun to see it on a grander scale. Like, I don't need to go to like a Cars resort. Like, yeah, it would be cool, but like, it's just one IP, and it's not for everybody. To me, it doesn't have that staying power. Where this, you can plug and play a lot of different IPs, and also for kids it would be fun, but for adults it could be a nice getaway. Like if you can't afford, like for us, like we said, I've never been to Italy, I've never been to Morocco, I've never been to China, I've never been to Japan. But when I go to the World Showcase, like the cast members are all from those countries. The architecture is similar. The food is somewhat similar sometimes. So like I would love to expand upon that. Where like if I can't afford to go to Italy or I can't afford to go to Morocco, if I stay in this hotel on Disney property that's beautiful architecture, the food is great, the theming is that, and you have those same cast members helping you, I don't know, like it would just expand upon that where you can have an Italian vacation without going to Italy, or you can have a French vacation without going to France. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. What do you think about it?
I think this is funny because like so many of these were actual ideas that were like as resorts in Walt Disney World. There was almost literally a Venetian resort that was going to be, I think, over between the Contemporary and the TTC. There was going to be an Asian resort. There was going to be a Persian resort. There was going to be a Mediterranean resort. So, Disney has kind of had these ideas before it, but I think it's cool, the idea of putting them all together kind of in one place and having it almost
the international resort or something like that.
Yeah, like the way Pop Century is, maybe even where you've got, different buildings are themed to each century or each decade. You can have different buildings, but I do like the idea of connecting them that are themed to different countries. And, you could do it that way where, I think if you're talking about the idea of scaling down, people would clearly want like a Japanese option, and they would probably want like the Italian option, a UK option maybe.
Yeah, I think making them distinctive really helps because while Italy and Germany have distinctive cultures, they're still kind of these Western European type of culture, right? So I like both.
Epcot is very Western European biased.
That is correct. Epcot has plenty of that available to people, and then but there's also China, and there's Japan, and there's Morocco, and these places that are fairly distinctive from one another. And we could probably find other countries that would be more distinctive, or regions. Something represent South America would be probably pretty good.
Equatorial Africa?
Yeah, maybe not Equatorial Africa, but maybe Brazil or Colombia or Peru. Machu Picchu resort would be kind of cool. One thing that just occurred to me that would be kind of cool for them to do is a smaller hotel in the vein of the Galactic Star Cruiser. So you have this resort that is kind of an experience in and of itself, but not for space. We do something for nature. So you theme it maybe off Disney Nature, where you have a resort where.
Oh, I thought you were legit just talking about the Star Wars hotel, and you were making.
No.
You're like, I thought you were talking about Reflections.
No. There's a galactic star cruiser, and it's like an immersive experience. When you go in, you're completely transformed. And I'm like, isn't that happening?
No. So I was thinking more along the lines of, let's just say if we went with like Disney Nature or a nature or ecology type of theme, right? A nature theme. So you park your car somewhere else and you take some sort of transportation to the actual hotel. It could be some sort of new green transportation that they have, or a boat ride, or a safari jeep or something like that. But not, so the Animal Kingdom Lodge is great, but it's strictly an African type of theme. This is something that you could go and you experience then kind of from a role-playing, not role-playing, but like an immersive experience where you are immersed in nature and ecology. And I think kids would really like it. You don't necessarily have to have animals, but you could, make it very clear that this resort is themed off of this resort is powered by solar panels. Maybe you overlook the solar field in the distance. Remember Horizons, where they had the like orange groves of the orange going up and orange going up? You have something you can look at. Hey, that's what's powering this resort. And we have a waterfall, and we have streams, and we have some sort of theme where we are in nature. Maybe it's a rainforest resort, but something like that. And maybe you even have some backdoor privileges to Epcot or the Animal Kingdom, where you get some experiences that are related to that. But that was just something that just popped into my head that might be kind of cool that people would like. Something where you are totally unplugged from the world, where you leave your car, a mile away, and you come and you experience this, and all the transportation and everything.
Park at Universal, and then they bus you to
park at
Disney.
Universal. Maybe not on a bus. Something innovative, something creative. I don't know. But the Galactic Star Cruiser, what I like is it's its own experience, right? It's like they said, it's kind of like going on a Disney cruise where you are isolated from everything else. And I don't know if you have to. Butters is snoring.
That was Butters.
That's Butters snoring.
Oh my God, Butters!
Yeah, poor Butters. She's snoring.
Oh,
listen to that! You sound
so cute.
Listen to that! She can't stop. She's awake and she's snoring.
Butters, you little cutie.
She says hi, Pete. And
with that snore. Oh my gosh,
the little Butters snore. Yeah, it's probably cuter when you're not trying to sleep. But I don't know. I like the idea of these small, more intimate, maybe higher dollar resorts that transport you somewhere and you're kind of immersed in your experience, as opposed to like it's just a place where you're staying. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so there's actually something, to your idea, Eric, there's something a little bit similar in Disneyland Paris. They have an eco resort. It's called Villages Nature. And it's very like eco themed. So it's not that small. It's not to the extent of sort of removal from everything else and being in your own little bubble the way that the Star Wars, this is definitely something Disney's explored in the past. And I think Reflections that they're building over on the Old River Country site is going to have some flavor of that too.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's good. And I think we'll see more of it, because these are probably I don't want to say they're cheaper to build, but they're probably cheaper to operate once you have the infrastructure in place. They're smaller, they're more intimate, they're going to attract higher dollar guests. So a win-win. And that was just something I just made up, within the last 5 minutes. So there could be some.
I think it would be cool.
Ideas, things we can add to it? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
No, I just had so just before we dive deeper into something, what another thought I had, instead of building a resort, I think it would be cool for Disney to have more of these once-in-a-lifetime experiences where you can either pay for it or win a contest, but kind of how you have the Cinderella Suite. But they could have those in more of the parks, or more super cool once-in-a-lifetime experiences like that. I would love if there were a few rooms, it doesn't have to be one, but a few rooms in the actual Tower of Terror or attached to it where you feel like you're in the Tower of Terror. I think that would be amazing. I would love, and now it's the Club 33 in America, but I don't know where you would put one in Epcot. But at Animal Kingdom, I would love if there was, they already have the pavilion that overlooks the savannah, and you already have the Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is kind of like that. But I would love to be in the park, or a room close enough to where, without seeing them, the backstage, but I would love to be able to hear the animals at night, like whether they're falling asleep or that roar. I just think that they built these little. It doesn't have to be one room and everything, but like pods, like I said, like 2 or 3 rooms attached to the Tower of Terror, or 2 or 3 rooms here or there, or even if they were on resorts, but they were just mega special. Like you said, some kind of immersive experience where you have to walk through an enchanted forest before you get to this lobby, which you'll be escorted to your magical room, or maybe the floor lights up taking you to your room. Anything super cool like that. Obviously, I won't be able to afford it, but hopefully I can convince Tom to take me if something like it. Like,
I would say, like, the thing with Disney is they don't build more thrilling roller coasters than the next guy, right? They don't build a more thrilling roller coaster than you'll find at Cedar Point. But where Disney excels, do what you're good at: storytelling, immersing people in something.
Exactly.
You know, I think that their theming, like they do a wonderful job of the theming of most of their resorts. They're most of them are pretty good. The ones that aren't pretty good are built for heavy wear and tear, quick turnover, and budget. So. And still, those are well themed. They're just not who wants to, never mind. We're not going to bash the value resorts.
I like
just think have you stayed at All-Star Movies? It's terrible.
I've stayed at all the All-Stars.
I said that with a Tom accent. It's terrible. No, it's terrible.
Garbage.
It's terrible. The furniture is beat up. You could tell that like 9 members of a dance team from Schenectady were staying there like the night before. It's beat up.
Honestly, it's for the
it
price.
reminds me of,
so even if you want to be in the Disney bubble, though, and again, like for me, I only pretty much have stayed at value resorts, with the exception of staying at Riverside twice. That's the only place I've ever stayed. Just because to me, I'm never in the room. I'm in the parks, or I'm resort hopping, or I'm doing nightlife. I'm never there. So I just need a bed. Granted, would it be cool if it was mega themed? Yes. But to be honest, if I'm going to pay $100 a night, that's not that bad to be inside the Disney bubble, and I have at least a bed and a shower.
No. It's still better. It's still better than staying at the Masters Inn on 192. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, there's nicer places off property. I started staying off property.
Sorry, Masters Inn.
After a while. No, but I mean, like, there's places, I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, you could always email me if you're looking for places. But I know 2-bedroom, 2-bath suites that go for $98 a night in Orlando. Now that like I started really getting into this. And they're nice. Like you can sleep. There's 4 beds. So even if you split that up, like I used to love staying there before I moved down here. But again, if you want to stay in the Disney bubble, you're not going to get it for less than like $100. Now, granted, if someone's paying like $220 because it's peak season for like an All-Star, that's not fair. The All-Star is a glorified, nicer Disney motel. Like
I will tell you,
what you're getting.
I put this in our internal discussion a few weeks ago. I put a picture of an All-Star resort next to a picture of the barracks I used to live in at Camp Lejeune, and they were identical except the paint job and the like stuff they bolted onto it. They look like a barracks. They are. I mean, look, it's better than staying in. What's that?
Did you have those H2O soaps? Those Disney soaps?
No. I had to buy my own soap.
Why is that so expensive to buy in the stores? Like, why, if you want to go buy a bottle of H2O body wash, is it like $20-some
it's
for like
it's
crazy.
If you stay at like the Ritz-Carlton or a Ritz-Carlton, or there's some higher end hotels, they have a little book where you can order like the mattress. Like, oh, did you sleep well? Here's the mattress that we have, and here's the pillows. You can buy them for an obscene amount of money. I'm sure Disney's the same way, right? They go, hey, did you like this soap that we had? Like. Yeah. Well, that shower was great. Well, the shower was great because you were covered in salt because you've been dragging your ass around Epcot for 8 hours. That's why that soap smelled so good, But I don't know. If you stay, by the way, if you've never stayed at Cabana Bay, which is a a Lowe's Universal resort, a value resort, it's really cool. But their theme is they transport you back to the days when people took like car vacations to the Howard Johnsons or whatever. They have like the shampoo is VO5, like Alberto VO5. The soap is Coast. Like they actually like do that thing where they take you back like to the old school stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Not to plug a non-Disney resort, but it's a good one for value. What's that?
Which I thought had an awesome. I've only stayed at Portofino. I haven't stayed there, but I did stay there. It's a weird story. Mm-hmm. But I stayed there, but I didn't have a room. Anyway, Portofino Bay is beautiful. I love this whole area. Yeah.
It is gorgeous. But I don't know that we've fully created our Disney resort yet. We haven't heard from Jill on what she would like to create. Do you have any ideas, Jill?
All I want in thinking about, so again, like we talked about earlier, I don't stay on property a ton. So I was trying to think about it more from the idea of what would make me stay on property.
Ooh, I like this.
And that would be an Alice in Wonderland themed resort. I would.
Trippy.
I would
do not do drugs and then go to that resort.
Right, exactly. But like there are so many different scenes from the movie. You could theme different buildings around different scenes from the movie or different characters. You know, you could have your White Rabbit's house type theme. You could have, Tulgey Wood type theme. Yeah.
I just saw Alice in Wonderland for the first time 2 days ago. Yeah,
the first
time ever seeing it. First time ever seeing it all. Like I've never seen like the Johnny Depp one, obviously, but I watched the original for the first time on Disney Plus 2 days ago. Yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
It's amazing.
Movie, but
yeah. Lots of classic Disney animators. You got a lot of Mary Blair backgrounds going on in there. Yeah. It's just. It's a feast.
The bar at this place is going to be lit.
Oh my God!
Exactly. And so, like, to me, that's part of what, again, throwing back to our earlier discussion, to me, that's something that a good Disney resort needs is a good bar. And, an Alice in Wonderland themed bar could give you so many opportunities. You could even have sort of different sections. You could have sort of the more like fancy high-end side. You could have the more like divey, dark in the woods kind of side. Like you could do so much with that. But I just think again, like Pete, you were saying, like so much of it could just be facades and like it doesn't have to be super elaborate, but the stuff you do, and I'm thinking like art of animation, how they have the sort of big sculptures in between the buildings and stuff, like you could have the cards painting the roses red. There's so many things you could have in there that so many people
the bottom
like.
Of the swimming pool, it could look super trippy too. Like, oh my gosh. And hiding in Cheshire Cat everywhere, that'd be super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that could almost be like you could have a little scavenger hunt inside the resort of like find all the Cheshire Cats or whatever.
You cannot get drunk and walk through that resort, or you are going to fall down when you hit the like spiral carpet or Cheshire Cat themed room. You're gonna. Were you raising your hand like you had something to say, Pete?
No, I think Pete's just saying that would be him.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind some old school Disney attraction theming. So like now at Caribbean Beach, you have like Pirates of the Caribbean themed rooms that you can have and stuff. A whole pirate resort would not be a disaster. That'd be kind of cool. But I think they've kind of gone pretty far with pirate and like maritime themes at a lot of the resorts. But how about a haunted hotel? How about we take... we don't even have to build a new one. How about we redo the Port Orleans Riverside or French Quarter, one of the two, into like a haunted theme, where you have spooky stuff.
Like a voodoo New Orleans kind of thing.
Yeah, like a New Orleans Square type of
Oh my
thing.
God, and they could totally do like a Princess and the Frog, like total Dr. Facilier that stuff up. Like that would be so cool.
It lends itself to the trees. Like you have these low-hanging trees, and the walkways are very dark and mysterious, and at night over at Riverside. I think you're onto something.
I think I could do it. Just give me 500 decals and a budget of $40,000 for paint, Mr. Chapek, please, and we can spook this thing up. I don't know. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do something like that. There's so much that they could do with it. I love the theming that they have, but I feel like the Port Orleans Riverside and the Port Orleans French Quarter, like maybe too much. Maybe we could take one of them and elevate them. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You could elevate that to include parts of what?
Butters on the move.
If anybody wants to see the backside of Butters, here we go. The backside of Butter. No, but I think we could do something like that. That might be a lot of fun. I like the Alice in Wonderland idea too. Why can't we do both?
Well, let's do them all. Alice in Wonderland would be really cool. Like you could have the eat me, drink me food area, the bar. My friend used to own a wine shop on Long Island called Down the Rabbit Hole, But like you could easily do it down the rabbit hole bar or restaurant. Like it would be amazing. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Susie McDonald. Down the rabbit hole. A lot of fun times there.
Remember the name of this place?
Now she's a burlesque dancer in New Orleans.
In St. Pete, I got invited to some friends got married, and I think maybe they don't drink. I don't know, but they had a gathering at a place in St. Pete called Mad Hatters. But it's a tea, like herbal tea and kratom. Is it called kratom or kratom or some kind of special tea that they have, and they smoke like it's not drugs. They smoke some kind of stuff. Tobacco. I don't know, herbal tobacco leaves or something like that. But it's supposed to be a pretty trippy experience to go in there, and it's like everything's themed after the Mad Hatter. And I don't know. I was unable to actually go.
My friend Michelle, her food truck is Eat Me, Drink Me. My other friend Susie, her wine shop was down the rabbit hole. All my friends have Alice in Wonderland themed businesses. I'm glad I finally know what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, you might start lumping those friends all together and trying to judge them based on their love of Alice in Wonderland, because there's got to be some, quick snap judgments you can make on that. I don't know. I like weird stuff.
If you need to vet your snap judgments, I'm a huge Alice fan, so I will tell you if they are like legitimately accurate stereotypes or not.
I don't know, because there was a period of time, this is probably a decade ago or so, where everybody that came to the parks, like if you went to a Halloween party, if they were into Alice in Wonderland, they weren't dressed as Alice. They were dressed as can I say like horror Alice? Can I say they were dressed like the sexy Alice. There wasn't a regular Alice costume to be all over the yeah. I didn't say horror. I'm sorry. That was a word. But there was you couldn't just dress as Alice like 12 years ago. You had to dress as like sexy Alice. I don't know what that's all about, but maybe people make that connection to
kind of
Alice
what
and
people
sex.
do. It's what people do at Halloween anyway. They're not just a nurse, they're a sexy nurse. They're not just a cat, they're a sexy cat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say the Alice thing. I want to attribute some of that to the America McGee video game that came out. That was like, there were post Alice in Wonderland, like other things that got created, comics, artwork, video games that definitely sexualized Alice a lot.
I don't know why Alice has been so well, a lot of the Disney princesses, and plus Alice, I guess she's not really a princess, have been sexualized in a lot of like artwork and internet stuff and whatever. I think that I've seen a lot of that stuff that's a little bit weird. I get it, right? People want to make a buck making something that's supposed to be for kids into something sexy, but I've seen a lot of that. It's a little weird. It seems like Alice gets more of it than your average Disney female character. Maybe I'm
shout out to David in the chat. Yeah.
The OBT Alice.
OBT Alice. I like it. That's what I should have used. That's the terminology I should have used. I apologize for the terminology I used. But I see there's a lot of that. So I don't know what the resort would be like, but I'll bet it'd be fun. Alice is here for a good time. There are a lot of those kind of franchises.
Alice Resort on the West Coast where marijuana is legal, it could also be a very interesting experience.
Yeah, but I don't think that the marijuana is going to be legal in a Disney resort. That's just much.
Oh, but you can literally just go outside and get it. That was all I'm saying. Someone brought it up in the chat, and it's not. I mean, after watching the movie, I could see how people would get into that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's pretty cool. I think you could take an Alice, like the cool thing about that Jill's idea of the Alice resort is you could take it to 25%, and it'd be a great resort and it'd be a lot of fun and everybody would love it. And you could take it halfway Alice and it'd be really cool, and you could take it all the way Alice and it'd be like, holy crap, this place is crazy. Well, and that's either way.
Make the suites like the all the way, and basically you have a little bit of that tucked away, and sure, if you have to pay extra for it, so be it. But I think that would be like, especially if you've seen any of the, I know we had one on our YouTube channel, a tour of the the Alice in Wonderland room in Tokyo Disney and like just how completely insane over the top it is. But like, again, that's like
Tokyo
special room, you pay a premium for it. Like if they had a few of those, I think it would be amazing.
But Tokyo has that extra level, like people there have this extra level of embracing like the totally whimsical and totally like weird stuff that's maybe still a little bit as weird as it sounds. I don't know if taboo is the right word, but a lot of stuff we don't do, they have no shame in doing in Tokyo. Like they're like, yeah, we embrace this like freak side of the Alice thing or whatever. I love it.
It's amazing what. It's amazing what 2 nuclear bombs will do to your social consciousness.
Wow. Yikes. Wow. Yikes. Yeah. So
just saying they embrace the whimsical, and I think that's why. I think like there's almost like a little bit of nihilism in their culture because they've seen like this incredibly like devastating thing that no one else in the world has really experienced.
Yeah. Well, Tom has said they are more like rule followers too. So people in Japan, if you go there, they're not holding their iPads up in front of you at the parade, and they're very polite and all that kind of stuff. And I really like that. They're very regimented and all these types of things. And there's probably a number of things in their society that have happened that have contributed to this type of culture. But I'm interested to see it. I've never been there. I think it'd be a great time. But at the same time, I love that they are. I've heard their costumes are like. When they go to, I guess, the Halloween party, their costumes are totally crazy, but they still do not wear their costumes in public. So these people all go to the parks, and then they have a whole area where they have to change into them. So they're coming to the parks in these like cosplay, to cosplay for like the, or whatever, but they carry their costume with them, and then they get there and Disney's had to like create these large areas for people to change in because it's still like not something you would wear around the streets of Tokyo. So you have to wait till you actually get to the parks to change into these costumes that blow away any costume that I would ever be able to make. But I'm interested to like experience that and see that in their culture. It seems really cool. I know we're over time, but
I was just going to say I was supposed to be there right now. I was supposed to be there with Tom and Jason right now. They were supposed to open the new Beauty and the Beast area this week. I want to say on Wednesday was when it was supposed to open, and we were supposed to be there for it. It's going to be my first trip to Tokyo.
Before I joined staff at WDWNT, I've still only been to all the stateside parks. I've been on a few cruises and stuff, but I'd always wondered, man, when do I want to go to Shanghai? Do I want to go to Tokyo? Do I want to go to Hong Kong? And since then, I've paid a little closer attention. It's pretty clear to me that Tokyo should be destination number one. So I'm looking forward to planning a trip out there as soon as I can, when we get back. It seems amazing. It seems pretty much universal amongst Disney fans that it is the place you got to go. It is like the
it's definitely not
Imagineering's gift to the Disney fan. Yeah, it's not universal. I know we're over time. We are always over time. We're the show that has a free post show. You don't have to join Wigs to get a post show with us. But I wanted to ask you guys real quick, if you have time, Jill and Pete. What if we could take one of these resorts we've created, and I think that Jill's probably we like the best, the Alice Resort.
I like that a lot. Yeah,
we could go down that rabbit hole and do a lot of princesses having their own resort. But if we want to build that, what if we had to get rid of a resort at Walt Disney World to make room for this one? Where would you put it? Ouch, right? We got to give something up.
I would put it, the new land they just bought right next to the Magic Kingdom, next to the Grand Flow and Shades of Green over there. I'd put it over there. And what I would do is you would have like staircase or like, escalators or whatever. Obviously you could have elevators too for, anyone who's disabled, but you have to go down. And the resort is built up on a second story, so you wouldn't know, similar to our Magic Kingdom. And then you would have to take some mode of, it would be you going down the rabbit hole, and then you would take, it could be like a people mover kind of thing. It's as simple as that, or it could be an underground monorail or a train or whatever. But that would bring you into the Magic Kingdom, and you would come up into Fantasyland somehow. Because they already have the back of the house over there anyway, so I feel like it'd be easy. Like you'd come up somewhere in Fantasyland, but you could do it where you go down the rabbit hole and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in a fantasy land. It's kind of like a fantasy, and you can do it. It's right next door. So I don't know. That's just an idea.
You didn't answer the question, Pete.
Yeah,
which one would I knock down? I would have knocked down.
We have to destroy something.
Oh God. I mean, you could take any of. All right, then if I'm scrapping that.
Wait. I guess my point is our resort that we've dreamed up good enough to eliminate another Disney resort and take it?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, like, it wouldn't make sense if you took out like one of the All-Stars. Like, those three are stacked next to each other. So putting it, let's say you took out one of the three All-Stars, it wouldn't make sense there. And I like things that make sense. Like, you pull into that driveway and it's All-Star this, All-Star this, All-Star this. If it was like All-Star, All-Star, and then Alice, I'd be like, ugh. Like, that doesn't theme up right for me. I don't want to get rid of the Art of Animation either or Pop Century, but like those would be the next two choices. And I like both of those places. And they serve a purpose.
Well, is our experience at the Alice in Wonderland Resort elevated enough to be like, is it going to be a deluxe? Is it going to be a mid-tier? Is it going to be a value resort?
I would knock down. All right, do you want me to knock something down? I wouldn't knock down a Disney
I think it's
resort,
at least moderate, if not value.
Yeah, a good neighbor
deluxe.
resort. I would take one of the good neighbor resorts near Disney Springs. And I would make that.
Yeah, I would take the B suites. Actually, those are pretty nice, by the way. If you stay at the Best Western or the Buena Vista Palace, maybe we could just do it in the whole take over the whole Buena Vista Palace. It's lost its luster from back in the early '90s when supposedly Michael Jackson had a room there on the top floor or whatever.
I liked in the chat, like, just use the NBA experience. Like, that's hilarious to me.
That's not a terrible idea.
The B resort.
You only have room for 20 rooms.
Yeah, the B resort. Or you can put it there. Yeah, but put it over there.
The DoubleTree.
You can still walk the Springs.
Yeah. I think we can pick this up and create more resorts. We can retheme the whole resort.
Oh, totally. I think that would be a great, like, we can totally continue that conversation of what would make a great resort. I would just say, I think this would work best in a place that's a little bit more secluded. Like, I almost want to say, like, get rid of the treehouse villas and put this over where the treehouse villas are. I think kind of like in a very woodsy kind of setting would be pretty awesome. Or even like out over where Old Key West is. Not that I'd want to get rid of Old Key West, but, kind of having some expansive space and being able to like kind of have it a little bit secluded from everywhere else. I don't think this is like a monorail loop resort where you want to be able to have like see it. And like, I think you want it to be like a hidden gem personally.
That's good, but I have a resort that needs to go. So goodbye, Swan.
Which one?
We're knocking down the Swan. It doesn't count as a Disney resort, maybe, I don't know. But Swan, bye-bye.
Swan as opposed to the Dolphin?
Because the Swan is crappier than the Dolphin.
Fair. They're building another one, right? Like there's going to be three of them.
The Cove is going up. It'll be nice, though. The Swan.
We were actually,
I stayed at the Swan like a few years ago. It's just... It was awful. It was a very bad experience. And everywhere I looked, I was like, oh, they need to change this. They could update this. And then next thing you know, I was looking at everything in a resort and being like, wow, everything here sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, we were gonna try to sneak in a trip before the parks went from everything is fine to the parks are closed super fast, and we were trying to sneak in a trip before that happened. But we wound up we had a trip booked for the week after the parks closed. And we were going to stay at the Dolphin because we got a really good rate, and I've never stayed at the Swan or Dolphin before, and I just wanted to see what
Dolphin has Dolphin has a legitimate cool lobby and a cool bar in the lobby and a couple cool restaurants. And the Swan is you walk in and you're like, oh, there's kind of like a sort of a lobby, I guess, and there's some places to sit down. It's just, I hope I'm not flip-flopping, but yeah, I might be flip-flopping. I'm pretty sure it's the Swan I stayed at that I didn't like, though. And the Swan was just like, oh, come on in. And then I have heard they remodeled since then, so maybe it's an elevated experience. But there was definitely, the Dolphin was definitely superior to the Swan, just in terms of the lobby and the bar. The bar lobby at the Dolphin was really awesome. And, I don't know. If we're going to build this Alice in Wonderland resort, we have to knock down something. Maybe the Swan is worth saving, but in terms of what I can think of that's kind of on property, I think it's got to be the Swan that has to go. And I'm sorry. But welcome Alice to the family. Now we have the Alice and Dolphin boat ramp The Allison Dolphin. So our newest Disney resort is the Allison Dolphin. That's great. I don't know where Pete went. Is he done, or did he have to go to the bathroom? I don't know.
We lost Pete.
Well, like I said, can you lasso the moon, or can you lasso the stars, right, such as Pete? You never know. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, though. I know we're a little over, which we always, I always start on time, or close to on time, and we always go, oh, there he is. There's Pete. He's back. Do we have to go to the bathroom, Pete? It's okay. You're muted.
No, I thought there was sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
Anyway, while you were gone, we knocked down the Swan and built an Alice in Wonderland resort there. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I caught you getting that.
Yeah. So, and it's really close to Jelly Rolls, which I think you'll really like.
I'm totally into that.
Yeah, and Joe was talking about, how the shutdown happened really quickly, and they were trying to rush another trip down here. I'm really glad, we do a thing where we do cheese and crackers and wine every now and then. Usually on a Friday night, we watch the fireworks from our back patio and have people over. And I know Pete and Allison both were able to come over that night. You and Lauren came, and we had a good time. I'm glad we got to do that before the parks closed. I do miss the fireworks. It was a nice, good night reminder for me at 9 o'clock every night to be hear boom boom, and you go, oh, I guess I need to start tying things up and try to wrap up work in the next hour and watch whatever we need to watch and go to bed. So I miss that. I can't wait for it to come back. I know all of us want the parks to reopen. Everyone in this country has differing thoughts on when is an appropriate. I'm back to here in Jacksonville, opened yesterday at 5 p.m. and immediately there are people on them. The beach is open. You cannot
Did you
have
see
a
that
towel.
People are losing it.
Yeah. You cannot have a towel. You cannot have a blanket. You cannot sit. You cannot sunbathe. You can only exercise, I think. But boy, I went to college in Jacksonville, and I never saw that many people on the beach there. So there were sure a lot of people there. They looked like they were probably kind of trying to keep their distance from one another, but there were an awful lot of people on the beach. I don't know if that's safe or not. I'm not here to commentate on when's the appropriate time. But I look forward to the time when we can all get together and do these things again. And so what do we got? Is that your picture?
No, that's what my buddy sent me this morning. Let's see if I can make this work. But it's like
I can see the text. Yeah. Lift it up a little bit.
Florida Beach is trying within 30 minutes of reopening at 5 p.m. Even though we had 1,400 new cases, the highest one-day increase since yesterday. And then the beaches, I don't know if I can show you the actual, you're seeing my, some of the lighting.
Your little light. Yeah, I've seen them. There were a lot of people at the beach, no doubt. I hope they say the impact of COVID-19 has been less in the southern states than was expected. Hopefully that is because they think respiratory illnesses are less transmissible in hot weather. I hope that's the case. But in any case, I think we're still a ways out from being in the Disney parks together and going and having a good time. But maybe, just maybe, in a month or so, we'll be able to go to some of these bars with appropriate social distancing where they maybe reduce capacity and they, take out half the tables and we can go together and have a cocktail. I don't know. I'd at least like to
I have lots of plans for when the parks reopen. Based on how many people who work here who haven't seen Yeehaw Bob, we're going to see Yeehaw Bob for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe that everybody hasn't seen Yeehaw Bob, but
we got to go.
I realize a lot of these people aren't from around here, and when they come, they have a lot of family, and they have to plan their gatherings a little bit, and maybe Yeehaw Bob's not always in there.
Yeehaw Bob.
Yeehaw Bob's a Disney icon. He's certainly worth checking out, and I'm looking forward to being able to see that again and going to Jelly Rolls with Pete, or at least if the parks aren't open, maybe we can get to the point where I can invite you and Lauren over and we can hang out again, Pete. I'm starting to go a little stir crazy. I'm sure everybody else is too. Lee says, nope, Lee's in her element.
I'm going stir crazy.
Yeah, Lee's in her element. She's like, I can bake all the things I want to bake. I can hang out all the time. Hang out with dolls. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us, especially Pete and Jill. I want to thank you. And Kevin Lake behind the scenes for being our producer today.
Yeah, Kevin.
We really appreciate it, Kevin. Kevin, you can always count on him to help us out on Saturdays. Thanks for joining us, guys. We look forward to doing this. We'll be back again next week. let me know if there's anything you'd like to see on this show. Eric M at WDWNT.com is my email address. Hit me up, and please thumbs up the video, like, share, go to patreon.com/WDWNT to learn about becoming a WIGS member for as little as $2 a month. The support really matters. We have a number of people who this is their full-time job, so we would like to keep them employed and making money and able to support their family. So if you are so inclined, you can donate in the super chat, or you can go donate or become a WIGS member. We appreciate you all. Thank you very much. We will see you next Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
See you at the RPG tonight.